Morning. Hey, it does work. Sorry. Okay, we're gonna get the Planning Commission meeting going this morning. So this is Tuesday, April 14th. This is the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment meeting. First item is to take the roll call, and who has the honor this morning?
I'll do it.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
Commissioner Bohr? Here. Commissioner Olson? Here. Commissioner Iverson? Here. Commissioner Fawbush?
Here.
Commissioner Groves?
Here.
Commissioner Maxwell?
Here.
Commissioner Barlow? Here.
Thank you. Next item is the approval of the minutes for the March 10th Planning Commission. We'll need a motion and a second for that. We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries. And we'll need approval of the minutes from the March 10th, 2026 Board of Adjustment meeting. We'll take a minute. I need a motion and a second for that. Motion and a second. All in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The agenda, so I was wondering you guys' opinion on this, but rather than make the church one in the Planning Commission wait for God knows how long, maybe we just move that to number one. So I think we open in the Planning Commission, it would just be a transition into item one on the Planning Commission. Is that okay if we open with that? And then move into the Board of Adjustment? Can I have a motion to confirm that, or do we just want to stick with the original plan? I can just do that? Okay. So that's what I'm going to do, and I know that you guys would appreciate that. Unless you want, you can stick around for the other part of the meeting.
Oh, if you want us to, we will.
No, it's up to you. So that's what I'm going to propose on we'll just stay in the Planning Commission to open the meeting. And we'll get through items 1 and 2, and then we'll go back to the Board of Adjustment. So with that agenda modification, do I have a motion to approve?
Move as amended. Second.
I heard two voices. Okay, Roger has it. All in favor indicate with aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Appearances, acknowledgements, correspondence, there's none. Old business, Planning Commission, none. Old business, Board of Adjustment, none. So we'll move on to item 1 in the Planning Commission. And that's going to be a hearing on appeal number 761, River of Life Christian Fellowship, to rezone property at 610 Northeast 3rd Street. They want to move from R60, which is duplex resident, to general business. The property is legally described as lots 2, 3, and 4, except the east 14 feet of Litch's subdivision of part Block 9 of Fuller Brothers addition to Madison, Lake County, South Dakota. And do we have the applicants present? Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah, you can bring another chair up if you both want to come up. You dropped your straw.
So I was like, what are they doing? Let's see, it's a little early.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So go ahead and tell us your names.
This is Tracy Boone.
I'm
Excuse me,
Jablant.
Tracy Jablant. We've been married now, but,
Okay.
and I'm Bobby Jablant, and senior pastor. She's, associate pastor of the church as well.
Okay.
Founder of
First,
the foundation.
okay. First, we're going to hear from the city engineers to kind of describe what we're going to look at, then we'll get back to you, and you guys can add whatever you want. So who's going to take this one? Okay,
I'll
Ryan?
take it.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. So as you mentioned, the applicant is requesting a rezone from R60 duplex residence to GB general business. Our staff have not received any written formal complaints or regarding this appeal from the public. Inquiries have been just to gather information about the request. All property owners within 150 feet have been mailed a notice by the city The applicant was also required to post signs and notify adjacent property owners and has met those obligations. The Board of Adjustment's role in these rezones is to decide such questions as are involved in determining whether the rezone is appropriate and should be recommended to the City Commission. So the City Commission, as the governing body, will hold its own public hearings and will make the final determination. So your role today is a recommendation to the City Commission. Staff has reviewed the rezone application, taking into consideration the most recent comprehensive land use plan. The purpose of that plan, again, is to encourage and enhance responsible development within the city. The existing land use plan within that adopted comprehensive land use plan identifies this as a public and quasi-public area, religious institution. The future land use map within this adopted plan identifies this area as appropriate for medium-density residential, which aligns with the current zoning of R60. The applicant stated the reason for the proposed zoning is to allow for a more flexible and potentially advantageous use of the property to accommodate both nonprofit and for-profit entities. The general business district is designed to support a broad range of commercial uses serving the city, surrounding area, including uses that are not primarily pedestrian-oriented. So this could include certain uses such as, commercial parking lots and liquor stores, drinking establishments, and those things. So we would encourage you to be careful with the, adjacent area as far as it being residential. This would not create a spot zone. The area directly to the south across the street is the Sportsplex complex. That's also a zone general business. So this would just then encompass this property as well. And I will stand by if you have any questions for me.
All right, thanks, Lorraine. All right, now we'll get to you guys. So what are your plans with this?
We actually have a ministry that's threefold, and part of our ministry is an equestrian ministry where we have horses, and of course that property is not really advantageous to bring horses to and keep them and store them there. And so we're actually been looking at some property down towards the airport in order to move, but also in the process of that, needing to sell that property in order to do that. And as he was speaking about it, looking really something that's more advantageous for us, and as well as somebody else that would come in and want to purchase the property there. And as mentioned, whether it be a nonprofit or a for-profit, and we just felt like that would give us a better opportunity for the sale of that building. And really, that's, kind of a simple request was to, broaden the horizon, so to speak, for, someone to be able to come in and purchase the property.
Okay.
And I'm not sure, I have all this, I brought copies. Do you need, I've never done this before, but do you need all the actual copies of these turned into you, how to turn those in or whatever?
No.
And
We'll take those.
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Okay, we have questions from the board?
So is there a scenario if you do not sell it?
If we don't sell it, we'll just continue to, keep the facility as it is, and would look at even possibly leasing it to another church. We'd prefer actually another church to our religious, organization to actually purchase it there. And there have been a couple inquiries for the deal, but basically we just keep it and continue to operate it as it is, and potentially either lease it to maybe another church or something as we move, or keep it as our headquarters. We're really not sure what to do, but we do need to sell the property in order to facilitate us moving into a larger facility and combining all three of our ministries together.
So any of these people that have been interested, have they indicated that they needed it to be rezoned in order to purchase the property?
One of actually a funeral home had interest in the property, and of course it wasn't zoned for them, and so that was really kind of what brought this up in the first place, and they're still interested in the property, but it would need a rezoning for them to operate there.
Can I interrupt for a second? If you could turn your mics on. for the purpose that it was online, and thank you. Gotta kind of push them hard.
You got to press hard.
I'm Bob, you can.
There you go.
The wall was the next move. My question's for you folks. If that is sold as a business, does the city have any say of what kind of business goes in there?
So there's a number of principal permitted uses in that general business zone, and so those uses would automatically be allowed. They would just need a building permit to, do any renovations, but those operations would be automatically allowed. It would not come back to the Planning Commission Board of Adjustment for any conditional uses. There's a number of conditional uses that are listed under that general business zone as well, and those would require coming to the board. But this would open up, much more options. The fact that it's R60 duplex residence, currently the church has a conditional use and is allowed under that, but principal permitted uses would be single-family residential, and then your duplex residence and up to 4 units. So this would dramatically change the use of that property, what's available. And as Ed mentioned, it does open up, options for, I don't think anyone's gonna put a bar or a drinking establishment there. But if they were to do that, they automatically could. They would just need a building permit to renovate the building.
Okay. Thank you.
Ryan, was this property taken out of the floodplain? Is it still in the flood zone?
I don't recall on the new map. I'll have to look. I believe it is still in the floodplain though.
So what are the regulations of building back in the flood zone?
If you do what's called a substantial improvement, and that's improvement to a building that is 50% or more of the value of the structure, and that can be an appraised value or it can be an assessed value. So for simple math, let's say the building is worth $100,000. If they went over that 50% threshold of 50,000 feet, then you'd have to elevate the existing building to be in compliance with floodplain regulations. If you stay under the 50% value, you can make your modifications as necessary and not have to bring it into full compliance. If there's a lateral addition or something like that, the addition would have to be elevated, and then it depends on what you're doing with the common wall. If you just have a doorway there, it's potentially you could just elevate the addition. If you were to take out a wall, then you'd have to, in that case, elevate the whole structure again, fill in any basements with fill, create a crawl space, move up any utilities, so it's extensive.
Okay.
And yes, that is still in the 100-year flood zone on the new map.
I'm gonna see if there's anybody in the audience that wants to speak on this. Is there anybody in the audience that wish to speak publicly on this? Okay, so you guys wanna have a seat back in the audience, and we'll call you up in a little bit here. Go ahead and come forward. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Barlow. I'll be brief. I just wanted to make my concerns public, that I do have some concerns with this being a general business next door, just due to the types of businesses.
Which business?
Well, sorry, the property.
Oh,
the
property,
church.
okay, okay.
If it goes general business, I do have concerns with that
Where do you live from there?
next door
To the east?
to the east.
Okay.
So just want to make the, concerned public that do have concerns with that being rezoned to general business just due to the types of businesses that could be potentially put in that property. So
Okay, all noted.
that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Okay. Do we need to bring the applicants back up? Or should we can move into a decision? Okay, I'm going to close that part of the hearing. I do have a question for Ryan. So if we left this, I mean, from my point of view, maybe a better option is just to leave it and then see what businesses are interested. And so if we leave that and they say, okay, we got a funeral home that wants to buy it, then what process does that go through just to leave it the way it is at R60?
Yeah, so in that particular case of a funeral home, you would need the rezone to general business. And then once it's under general business, then that would be a conditional use of the general business zone. So they'd have a couple of steps that they'd have to walk through to get
The
there.
funeral home would do that.
Correct, yes. And I should maybe go, if you'd like me to, I can go through all of the, uses that would be allowed under that general business zone. That might help you. So principal permitted uses, and again, these would be just, these are allowed automatically if it's rezoned to general business. We include retail and wholesale sales, bakery, finance, insurance, and real estate services, personal service establishments, drugstores, eating and drinking establishments, flower shops and garden supply, grocery, supermarket, hardware appliance, small tool rental, meat market, no killing, eviscerating, skinning, or plucking, just a meat market, paint, wallpaper, drapery, professional government and education services, television, radio, and small appliance repairs, liquor stores, commercial storage, hotels, motels, offices, commercial parking lots, flea markets, pawn shops, pet shops, printing and publishing establishments, radio and television stations, bars or taverns, theaters, upholstery shops, and fitness facilities. There's also a number of conditional uses. Conditional uses include church, synagogues, chapels, places of religious worship, auditoriums, meeting halls, hospitals, clinics, warehouses, automotive sales, car wash, storage service, contractors, mortuaries, funeral homes and funeral chapels, lumber yards, daycare centers, and vertical access wind turbines. So those would require,
Wind turbine?
yep, those would require an applicant to come back to the board. So there's a long list, as you can tell, of potential uses for this property.
So you're saying, I'm sorry, one of those kind of struck me as funny, a pet store?
Yeah,
And they don't have to get a variance for that, right?
correct, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, we just simply have no control at that point. Also, how many unsold business plots are in the city right now?
Good question. I don't know downtown what's available, or,
I mean, we've got the corner one right there with the old Dakota, what was it, Dakota Market and
yeah.
old El Vaquero there too.
Yep, yeah, and that would face some of the similar things with the flood zone, and that's been difficult for people to look at those properties and know the requirements that they'd have to navigate to renovate those. In both of those cases, people have looked at those in the past, and that 50% rule was something that they were bumping up against and made it difficult to develop. But you're right, those are available. I think there's some areas downtown that are available.
It seems like we're being spotty all over the place. We've got empty lots, I mean, up the, if you go down Washington, once you get past the subway, then you have that raised lot that seems to have been for sale forever. Okay.
So Ryan, this is an R60. When did that become an R60?
I'm not exactly sure. I can tell you, I've been with the city 20 years, and it's always been R60
Okay.
that I've been
So
aware
there
of.
wasn't a variance or conditional use to get that church there, or?
There was a conditional use by the church probably many years ago
Okay.
in order to operate the church in that location. nothing has changed, you know. A lot of times typically when a new owner or someone comes in and changes the use of the property, then that prompts them to get a updated conditional use. In the case of those that just operate as they have been, their conditional use just remains up to date.
I'll allow you to come on up and, we've had a little discussion, so you have a chance to rebut
So,
that.
you know, looking at the situation, I mean, you know, I almost feel like, you know, we're penalized for being in that particular position. So, you know, I'm hoping that y'all will favorably consider being able to move it in. That would really open up the doors for, you know, someone else to come in there as well. As, you know, it's in the floodplain, it's this, it's that. And so, you know, hopefully y'all would prayerfully consider the fact that, you know, it would open up revenue for as well the city, as well as give us an opportunity, because even, and I'll just use the funeral home, you know, they don't, well, if they come in, put a contract in it, but yet they've still got to come down here, you're 2-3 months out, they don't, you know, it's just not advantageous for us as it sits right now. And then, of course, with, you know, what we're talking about, the 50%, and I don't remember exact terminology, but, you know, the assessed value of it, it can't go above 50%, or then you got to lift the whole building up and do all that. So, you know, hoping that y'all will consider a little break here to allow someone that could come in there and actually use the property, whether it be a nonprofit or even for-profit. And, you know, as I was speaking with Kevin, he had called me, and you know, I'm not looking just to sell it to anyone. I would prefer it to stay in a religious situation there. You know, I wouldn't want to sell, as I'd mentioned to him, I don't want to sell it to a Taco Bell, so to speak, something of that nature. I would, say again? Or a bar or something of that nature. You know, I would hold discretion, you know, in my pocket, so to speak, as far as who I sell it to. And I would want it to be advantageous for the community and not, you know, set up a situation or detriment to the people who live around there. I mean, several of the people who do live around there come to church there, so I would want to protect that, you know, the integrity of the property around that. But there are other businesses. There's a dentist right down the street, of course, the sports complex across the street. So there's other general businesses within 100, you know, 250, 300 feet from that location, and it is located right there on the main street. So again, we just hope that y'all would give us a favorable vote on this in order to allow, you know, to be a little more advantageous for us for actually being able to sell the property. And that's really all I have to say.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So a couple months ago, we had another church that was expanding and we were looking at parking. What does that look like, either the way it stands now or as a general business? Is there enough parking down there to be a general business? I mean, I see the sports complex on the other side of the road has the parking.
It looks like there's limited parking available. I think most of the parking would be on that off-street parking. There's a large concrete off-street parking area. I think that has served as their parking in the past, and then just up Summit Avenue. As far as what, you know, if that could support general business, I guess it probably depends on what that business use is. I think if it's, you know, a pet shop, you probably don't have a lot of people there at one time, but if it's a, you know, a bar, you could expect a lot. So it would be,
Okay. So if it was a dentist or something medical, I know that we have a lot more required parking for that.
yeah, all the
At that point,
ratios
it would be
are
a
different.
conditional use to come in and
Yeah,
for
that's right.
variance to.
Yep.
I believe there's about roughly 25 vehicles to park there, without any off-street or on-street parking, however you would say that.
Thank you.
So we're looking at here is a recommendation, either 2 or or not to the city commission, then the city commission will have to change it if, or they're gonna take this up and do what they want anyway, right?
Yeah, that's correct. They would,
Whether we say yay or nay.
yep, they'll take your recommendation into account, but yeah, they are the body that makes the ultimate decision.
Okay. So if we need any further discussion, if we don't, then we need a motion, sort of like the last meeting, where we just were making a recommendation to the city commission, either for or against. So we'll need a motion and a second. So I think last time we said, you know, leave it the same. Yes vote would be to leave it the same.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, say that again?
I was confused last time too. Jim made he said, I want to leave the zoning the same.
Yep.
So
Just the way
I
you
want to,
worded it.
yeah, I want to say, yes, leave it the same, even though the hearing was to approve or deny, so we basically denied it by saying yes.
Okay, so let me word it differently
Okay.
then. I move to approve it to general business.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote on this. Dan, do you want to do the order?
Again, Commissioner Barlow,
Nay.
Commissioner Maxwell,
I'll go nay too.
Commissioner Gross,
No.
Commissioner Fawbush,
Nay.
Commissioner Iverson,
No.
Commissioner Olson,
No.
Commissioner DeBoer.
Yes.
Okay, 6-1, we do not recommend changing the zoning to general business. So, thank you for your time, everyone, appreciate it, yep. All right, well, the one everybody's been waiting for. We'll need to move, we're gonna go back to item 1, now we're gonna skip those. We can wait until the end. So we're gonna go back to the beginning now, okay, Jennifer? Okay. So we need to move into the Board of Adjustment. Need a motion.
So move. Second.
All in favor, indicate with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, item 1 is a hearing on appeal number 762. I'm assuming that's called Giga, right? Okay. Giga Project 19, Madison LLC for a conditional use application that if granted would allow the applicant to construct a 10-megawatt air-cooled modular data facility. The properties are legally described as Block 1, Ash Hill addition to the city of Madison in the southwest quarter of Section 8, TWP 106-N R52 west of the 5th PM and the south 66 feet of the east 330 feet, Lot 13, Block 3. Oh boy, how do you say that?
Shimerdas.
Shimerda's addition to the city of Madison, South Dakota. That is a mouthful. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name?
My name is Camille Foley. I'm with Giga Energy. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah. So first, I think we'll let Ryan lead off and kind of describe what we're going to look at here.
Sure.
So, thank you. Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Board, I was curious if you would consider taking both this hearing and the next hearing at the same time. If we open the public hearing, we can explicitly state that both applications are being considered. I can then give one staff presentation at one time. They'd be separate but back to back, and then the applicant can then address both of those requests together. We can hold public testimony on both items, and then we close the public hearing and make deliberation and separate motions, if that would be okay.
Yeah, so combine item 1 and item 3 on the.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay. So first off, the conditional use permit. A summary is that the applicant's proposal is to construct a 10-megawatt air-cooled modular data center on 3.73 acres, which is located in the Light Manufacturing District, or ML District. These facilities are not explicitly listed as a permitted use in the light manufacturing zone. So this request is being considered under other industrial commercial uses consistent with the district intent. The Board of Adjustments role, your role today is to decide whether the conditional use should be granted, and then grant those conditional uses with conditions and safeguards that you feel are appropriate under city ordinance, or you can also deny the conditional use when it's not in harmony with the purpose and the intent of the district. To approve the conditional use, you must find that it's consistent with the district intent, will meet the performance standards, and will not adversely affect surrounding properties. Our staff in engineering and community development have not received formal written concerns regarding this conditional use. We have had a number of inquiries to gather information about the request, and there's been some public concern, but nothing written and specific to the conditional use itself. All property owners within 100 feet have been mailed a notice by the city, and the applicant was also required to post signs and notify adjacent property owners, and has met those obligations. This ML district is intended to accommodate light industrial uses, limited impact on surrounding properties, as I'd mentioned, and activities that generally meet the performance standard related to noise, appearance, and environmental effects. As far as the appearance goes, the applicant is proposing chain link fencing 6 to 8 feet with an acoustic fence, noise mitigating fence curtains that will block sounds on the sections as shown on the site plan. Planting a tree buffer along Highway 34, and the modular metal units will be utilized as the building construction. As far as noise goes, the applicant states it will be 50 decibels at 500 feet with mitigation. This is comparable to low, moderate ambient noise. Environmental impacts, the project has no wastewater discharge, no known emissions, odor, or gases, and minimal vibration. As far as fire and safety go, there's a fire access lane provided. There's a hydrant nearby, and there will be some coordination with the fire chief. These all meet baseline expectations, subject to your final review. Jumping back to the variance component, the applicant is requesting a variance from the GT1 Gateway Overlay District. So the base district is the light manufacturing, but there's also a GT1 Gateway Overlay District. There's rules within that district that prohibit sheet metal siding. The flexibility and zoning regulations they're requesting are needed to allow that metal-clad modular unit. The key reasons behind this are some unique conditions. Modular data centers require metal siding for cooling, efficiency, durability, etc. And without the variance, they wouldn't be able to construct this kind of facility, since this metal unit is inherent to the technology, and there's sure, and is not necessarily a design preference. They also note that similar project could request the same variance. Note that siding rules are intended for traditional buildings, and this is a non-traditional aspect, and not modular infrastructure.
Say, Ryan, I should probably read through the variance first, because
Sure.
I don't think I presented it. So
Yeah.
we combined them, but I forgot to read through, and then I'll get back to you.
Okay.
So, item 3 is a hearing on appeal number 763, Gigaproject 19, Madison LLC, for a variance that would approve, that if approved, would permit the applicant to use material defined as sheet siding in the GT1 district. The properties are legally described as Block 1 Ash Hill addition to the city of Madison in the southwest quarter of Section 8, TWP 106-N, R52 west of the 5th PM, and the south 66 feet of the east 330 feet, Lot 13, Block 3, Shemerida's addition to the city of Madison, South Dakota. Okay, continue.
Variances, they're, as you know, are designed to allow some flexibility in the zoning regulations in the case where there's a hardship, such as a exceptional shape of land, in cases where a property is affected by topographic conditions or other extraordinary situation. They're to be approved only when the property owner or applicant demonstrates that the provisions of all or part of these zoning regulations present an undue hardship. So, just wanted to mention that it does need to meet that hardship threshold. And I'll stand by if you have questions for me.
All right, thank you. Okay, Camille, you have a little presentation to provide to us, or do you have something to
Sure.
add to what Ryan said?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just give a quick overview of the company, and then maybe just talk through a couple of questions ahead of time that you might have. So Giga Energy was founded in 2019. We are first and foremost an equipment manufacturer. We manufacture these modular data center units that go to each of our sites. We also manufacture medium voltage transformers and switchboards, and are headquartered in Houston, Texas. So we have manufacturing facilities in Long Beach, California, and are about to open a facility in Houston, Texas. We, to date, have delivered about 3.5 gigawatts worth of equipment to various sites throughout the country since we were founded. And we've also started a development branch. So I'm on the development team. To date, we've developed over 175 megawatts of operational facilities throughout the country. We're on track to develop 500 megawatts more just this year. We are looking to develop this site here in Madison and have been working closely with Heartland, who I know there are a couple of representatives here from the company here today. The facility is air-cooled, so there's no water usage required. There's no septic on site either. We plan to put a small porta potty, so no water will be required at all for the facility. And really just want to say thank you so much for the consideration, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
So you're the manufacturer? So
Correct.
who operates it?
So we have different companies that come in to lease the racking space from us. So there are a number of different use cases for that. It all depends on the ultimate end user. However, we have our own operation offerings, so we're involved in the facility throughout the useful life of the project. Because we are the manufacturer, we know how to operate the equipment best, and so our customers keep us on board to support in the operations of the facility.
Ryan, can you remind me, what did we vote on this site in a previous meeting? Like, this has been under discussion before. How did we move from that to this? Because I don't remember Giga, the name, or this purpose in that meeting.
Yeah, so that was the rezone for the property, and at that time, the details on their proposal were not known at that time. It was just, back then, we were determining, is that lot appropriate for light manufacturing, or should that stay highway business? That was the question at that time. So none of these details were really part of that. I think that this facility was mentioned, but that vote was just, putting blinders on to what the future use would be, and just saying, is this appropriate? Is it appropriate for it to be light manufacturing? And I believe the vote, do you recall?
It passed.
Yes, it did.
It passed us, but we were
It was recommended to the city commission for,
Okay, and the city commission, what was their vote? They passed it, I assume?
yes, we were
Earlier?
to approve the rezone.
Well, I remember the word Bitcoin being tossed around a lot.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
was how it was presented to us. But is that not what we're looking at now?
So, well, if I may,
Yeah, go
it
ahead,
will
please.
depend on the ultimate end user of the facility. I will say we do have a number of Bitcoin mining facilities that are operational. We also offer cloud computing, so that would be typical data storage and transfer. So it will ultimately depend on the end user.
Okay, so we don't know if it's Bitcoin or cyber, or data center for AI use or whatever. It's
Yeah, so,
undetermined.
Most likely it will be either Bitcoin or cloud computing. It wouldn't be AI because this is a flexible load data center, so we have the ability to shut down in times of peak demand. AI data centers cannot do that. They need to have uptime basically 100% of the time, and we are actually flexible.
But it's not necessarily going to be Bitcoin. It could be a data center.
It could be a data center
Okay.
for cloud computing, typical storage transfers, yeah.
So in our previous meeting, we were told that this was gonna be a closed loop. Now we're telling that this is gonna be an air-cooled.
I guess I don't recall it being closed looped. I do recall the two options being mentioned, but I don't think that there was, again, I don't think there was any committal to anything, because at that time we didn't know what the application details would be. And again, that was just to a rezone. So the discussions that occurred during that meeting, I think, should be, I guess, kind of taken with a grain of salt, that they weren't a final application. I think some of that was, hypotheticals.
If I recall, I remember that we were also concerned about the noise level.
Yes.
And those concerns were addressed, and concerned about the effect on the power grid, and those concerns were addressed. And especially with the location of it right by our, what do you call it, have all those,
Generation plant,
what?
the gen plant.
The gen plant there, right next to it, and that's only used when, every once in a while when you hit peak load. Okay.
So I'm sure we got a lot of people that want to speak on this. So I think I'll let you have a seat back in the audience, and at the end, I'll have you come back up, because if there's concerns, you can address those, or maybe there's no concerns, I don't know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I think the way we're going to break this down is that I'm going to let the proponents speak first. So anybody that's in favor of the project, that way there's no misunderstanding of what side we're on. And then people that are opponents, and then at the end, we'll do people that are just neutral and are just here that want to have a voice. So let's see. I'm going to start in the front row. Well, that'll be easiest for me. So if you're a proponent, Mr. Mayor, I'll let you go first. Unless you oppose this, then you're going to go last.
One of the things that people are always concerned about is their electric bill. And one of the ways in that the city can help, keep our electric rates in that low is by bringing in additional users. Currently, the power that is being discussed is available and sold on the open market on a daily basis by Heartland and does not benefit the city of Madison. Because anything that they sell that's outside the city of Madison, that goes, to the other users. When we add additional businesses, such as when Manitou grew, and that they picked up additional power, that power comes in the city, and that benefits across the board, because they cover their share of the costs and that of what is being used by the city. In this instance here, we're bringing in something that is going to use some of Heartland's power that they currently have available and sell on a daily basis. But by adding 1 cent to the kilowatt rate, it will bring additional dollars into the electric department, which can help mitigate and stabilize our electric rates. Our electric rates in that are covered by whatever WAPA decides, and that is going to be the new rates and then what the other costs of producing power are across the different sources, and that where we get our power through Heartland. Heartland has already visited with East River. The power is available. It's being used somewhere else on a daily basis and sold on the open market on a timed basis that someone in the audience can explain better than I can. This gives us, City of Madison, another revenue source to our utilities, and that to help keep utilities low for the City of Madison. From the standpoint of noise, I did pass out to you in that a decibel chart that just kind of tells what different sounds and that, you know, would be, and this here falls into the normal conversation decibel range. When we talked before and we were looking at doing the rezone, we did not have all the specifics. We did say that there's two different styles out there. One is air-cooled, one is closed-loop water system, like your automobile. So now that we're getting a little more information and possibilities in that, it's one of the things in that I do support for the benefit of the City of Madison. And I'll stand by for questions or more information later. Go ahead, Jacob.
Do we know if they're gonna have the same, like, rates as everybody else, or will they get a discount for coming in?
Not everybody in the City of Madison has the same rates. As an example, our industrial park in that, because of their usage in that, they get a different rate than what residential does, businesses as well. So the rate structure across the City of Madison is not the same on every level.
Let me rephrase that. Are they getting an incentive to come in up front? I believe we did the same for Global Polymer.
The power will be handled through Heartland, so I'll let them answer that question. The thing that we are looking at is that it will come through our system, and we will add 1 cent to the kilowatt rate that Heartland charges, and that 1 cent will be basically profit to the City of Madison to stabilize our electric rates.
If you'd like, I can answer that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and also I'll give an answer because I know it's a question on your mind, it's probably a question on the public's mind as well. But first, I do want to emphasize that, you know, today we need to stay focused on the zoning issues, the sound considerations, visibility, those items that would pertain to that. The City Commission will have, if this is approved, the City Commission would have action at a future date to tackle issues such as electric service agreements and land leases and that sort of thing. But again, since I know it's on everybody's mind, this customer, Giga, would have its own special rate class, and that's because they are getting an interruptible load. So if the city gets high on its electricity usage, they're the ones that get shut off. And so we can't sell them electricity at the same rate as everybody else when we are shutting them off if the load gets too high. So because of that reason, their rate is gonna be lower than anybody else's, but again, they're agreeing to be an interruptible load. If it wasn't for that interruptible factor, you know, we would look at charging them a different rate. That goes to the 1%, the 1 cent adder that the mayor mentioned, and so whatever the open market is selling at that point, right now, it goes off to somewhere off in the market, and we don't benefit from that. We would get 1 penny added onto that, and then that penny is added revenue for both the City of Madison as well as Heartland Energy. Does that make sense?
Kind of, but I would disagree that this is not part of the conditional use. I think that this is very pertinent to this, but.
Okay. I mean, rate structures are something that would be falling underneath the City of Commission for utilities.
Yes, but how, if we had another industrial complex or something come in, can we do that right away, or is this taking away from that opportunity? Because I don't see this generating any employment. It's taking our energy and we're gonna cost.
It actually isn't taking our energy because we don't have this energy for the city right now. This is energy being provided to Heartland to the open market. So we don't have any of this energy now.
I get your question though, Commissioner DeBoer. So I think the short answer is that yes, we would have the capacity to continue to expand in industrial, commercial, residential areas throughout the city, even with this customer added on. I'm looking at Mike in the back, but I believe on the southeast sub, even with this customer, we'd still have 2 to 5 megawatts available. And then on the green sub, we'd have, is it 10?
Well, an additional after the upgrades, an additional 12 to 15.
An additional 12 to 15 on the green sub, which is the one by DSU. So that's substantial megawatts. I know we're looking at a 10 megawatt pilot facility here for Giga, and so to say that we have, 2 to 5 available on that sub doesn't sound like a lot. But to put that in perspective, right now, the city of Madison, when you take DSU's allocation aside, is around 15 megawatts for the entire city. So the fact that we'd have another 2 to 5 in the southeast sub, and what'd you say, 15 on the green sub? That's a substantial amount of energy that still would be available for expansions to any customer class.
So this would be taking 40% of what Madison as a whole uses, outside of DSU.
Yeah, it'd be adding on to a substantial load
This
for
would
the
be
current,
adding
yeah.
on power that we currently do not have, are currently not using, but is available to us for use. See, right now in that we're getting everything that we need, Heartland is producing more, they're selling it to elsewhere. And they're selling it on the open spot market, which means in that, it's kind of like, I guess I'd rather have them explain it, but anyway, they sell it on the open market and that to other energy users that may need additional or may need to want to switch around. This would bring that additional power that they are currently selling to the Madison city market and give us, yes, it would be added to the city, so we would go from the current 15 megawatt to being a 25 megawatt city. And it would also generate additional revenue for the utilities and that we currently do not have available.
For the utilities at the cost of the resident.
For the benefit of the residents, not a cost to the residents.
So you said there's a 1 cent increase.
It's a
That's
1
only for
cent
Giga.
increase to what Giga would be using.
So
It would be
the
a
cost
1 cent
structure,
1 cent addition to the power that they use, and that money then would come into the city's utility income structure.
So residents' costs would not increase, but
No.
Gigas would?
gigas would be the market price plus that 1 penny adder.
Yes.
And so
Thanks for
the
clarifying.
simple cost structure is that any cost that we would incur for the system to add them as a customer, they are paying for. Any new cost that comes from this customer, they're paying for upfront, and then we are receiving additional revenue of 1 cent added on to the market price.
So right now, Heartland is using that energy outside of.
They're selling
Selling.
the energy that they have to
Yeah.
somebody else.
But somebody else needs that energy. So,
You'd have to,
so when Heartland gives us that energy, Heartland's gonna have to increase their production, which is gonna increase the cost, which is gonna downflow to us
Actually,
anyway.
no,
Not
it'd be the
exactly.
opposite. So,
Not exactly.
so when we talk about the market, we're talking a big grid market, right? And so this 10 megawatt is, to say a drop in the bucket is probably an understatement. It will need to keep things respectable here. And again, Heartland's here, they can answer these questions as well, but 10 megawatts is a small amount when you talk about the market. They have a large generation capacity that they currently do not need to sell to the customers. The customers don't have that level of demand, so they are able to sell that in the open market for whatever they're able to get. And this way, they would be able to sell that at a 1 penny adder, and that extra half penny that they keep for themselves for revenue actually helps all of their customers, because the more revenue they bring in with no additional cost helps to keep their rate structure stable and low.
An example may be when you're driving across Minnesota right now and you look at the wind turbines. When they have a need for power, more wind turbines are operating. There's times you'll drive across Minnesota and you'll see wind turbines turned off. The reason is that people are not using the power. And so we don't have the ability with generated power to store it in a battery and that, so it's use it or lose it. And so in this case here, they may have sometimes in that they've got power that they could be selling that they're not selling because there isn't a buyer out there to use it. It's kind of like when you leave the room and you turn out the lights. You stopped using electricity at that point in time. But they still have to have their generators going so that if you come back into the room, turn the light switch on, the lights come on. So electricity is a unique, product.
Well, yeah, you can't have a oversupply. It has to be used as it is being generated.
So just a resident here, I mean, a quick Google search, especially of Bitcoin, it's pretty negative. And what I found about Google is that if your position is negative, it gives you negative feedback. And if it's positive, then it gives you positive feedback. So it's tough to really find actual information. But like you guys brought it up about the rates for just us, residents. So you're telling me that the rates are not gonna increase, they're gonna stay the same for sure, 100%?
Well, they'll have their annual adjustments based on what our, annual increases are that come to the city. But as far as the use that's here, this is gonna be additional power brought in through Heartland to the city to operate this.
So it should not.
It presents negative pressure on rates.
Yes.
Again, any increase in cost is paid for by the customer, and then on the other end, they're paying revenue to the city with that 1 penny adder. So we're not seeing any more cost, but we are seeing more revenue, so that additional revenue coming to electric fund provides negative pressure on the rates. And I know that can be challenging because we hear things in the news, we see things that say that data centers are increasing rates, but if you set it up correctly, that's not gonna be the case, and that's what we're looking forward to do here. When we look at the large infrastructure improvements that we have to make right now, this summer, we're doing 2 large substation projects. We've done conversion of overhead to underground, other large projects. The only way that you can pay for those projects is either you don't do them, you let your infrastructure go past the end of life, or you pay them with your existing base with adjustments to rates, or you bring in new customers that can help to pay down those improvements. And that's what we're looking at doing here.
Well, you understand why we're a little skeptical. I mean, our rates never go down, they always go up.
Understood. But again, a lot of that is beyond our control. But what we do have is under our control is once we get the power costs to the city and we take the cost of operation to keep the city lights on, and that's where our rate structure is set for the residents and the industries that are in town. This in here will be coming in, but it will not be subsidized by the citizens or the businesses we currently have. They'll be receiving their power directly. We will just be adding 1 cent to the kilowatt usage, and that as a cost of operation for this center, but for the benefit of the citizens of Madison. And estimates are it'll generate anywhere from $200,000 to $400,000 a year to the electric fund. And so the electric fund has been using and continues to upgrade the system throughout the city. Like Jameson said, from taking the overhead and putting them underground to increasing the substation requirement. We are required to upgrade our substations because we're going from 69 kV to 115. We have to be able to receive that power to keep the lights on in the city. So that has been in process for probably at least 5 years. That's not new, and it does nothing to do with this project here. Do we have data centers in the city of Madison? The answer is yes. Dakota State's NSA building.
How big is that one?
Pardon?
How big, how many megawatts?
I don't have that answer in that. But anywhere that we have computers in operation, that data is going somewhere, that power is being used. First line funding uses a lot of power in that, to operate all the computers and that they have. And if it weren't for the internet system, there's a lot of businesses in Madison that wouldn't be here. Because it requires, them to be able to operate nationwide.
And then I have a question on the sound, the sheet you passed out. This is just a general.
That's a general sound,
pilot it looks
of
like.
decibels,
Okay.
and it just tells you in that, normal conversation is 50 to 70 decibels.
Okay. Have we done an
Typical
on-site?
classroom- Pardon?
Have we done an on-site study yet?
We have, and I'm gonna let Mike speak to that.
Okay, all right. We're good.
I'll
You'll have your
clar-
chance.
Can I clarify that? So we had Decibel Reader, we went out there to take some readings
Yeah.
to see where it's currently at and where it's at around the area. Official sound study has not been done, and I think that would be a reasonable condition to place on this if you were to move forward.
Mike, I'll get to you. No, but there's, yeah, I'm sorry, Mike,
I can move out of the
I
way.
can yell really loud, does that help? I'll give you your chance to come up and ask all the questions. I'm just gonna take everybody in order, so.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for the mayor? I'm sorry, you're getting bombarded with all the questions that we have, and because
You
you're the
know-
first one.
Being in the mayor's position is to do what's beneficial for the citizens of Madison. And so besides the streets and that, and the water and sewer upgrades and this, and that we've been doing, keeping electric rates is also another thing that's beneficial to the citizens of Madison. And this is one of the things that I see that will help do that. So, I'll step back and we can let somebody else come up.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna go to the second row. I'm looking for opponents, in the second row on my left. Anybody who, what's that? Oh, boy, yeah. Proponents. Yeah, sorry. Proponents. So we'll go to the second row on my right. We'll start here. There. I can't imagine you'd want to speak. Good morning. Go ahead and state your name.
Morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Casey Crabtree from Heartland Energy. I was more wanting to be here, just stand by for questions. Then I heard a number of them right away, so I thought maybe those would come at the end. Couple of things that I think.
I'm sorry, we just want assurances that our rates are gonna go down.
Yeah, well, let's just talk, we'll talk a little bit about that. I think a couple of things that were maybe glanced over that need to be reiterated is the city of Madison still owns the land. So the city of Madison is gonna be, I think, the lead on this project in general, right? Giga's gonna be an operator, but the city of Madison's really got control of it. Heartland was brought in on this because we do sell energy into the market. Obviously, we sell it to the city of Madison and many others. I'll go ahead and point this out from a city of Madison perspective. From where Heartland's at, we haven't raised our rates in almost 10 years, which is, not something you're gonna see when it comes to most utilities. So in that time, a couple of the questions that the mayor was taking there as well is, we're selling any excess generation into an open market. That open market goes from here, covers multiple different states. And with this different rate that we can do here, this is actually making sure that there is more revenue generated for the city of Madison. There is no cost shift with this project back on to any of the ratepayers. And so from a city of Madison aspect, I'm sure Jameson, Mike Pluster can talk more about this, but any of the infrastructure taken that's needed to operate this facility is being paid for by the operator. From a generation standpoint, we already are generating this power. And so here, there's a chance for us as Heartland to generate more revenue. That keeps our costs lower for all our customers, including the city of Madison. And then for the city of Madison or any of the cities that utilize this program, they're able to generate themselves more revenue and keep their costs lower, or use that to defer increased infrastructure costs that they might have coming forward. There was asked about the rate classes. All of our cities have different rate classes. Any of the projects that we're involved with have different rate classes that are available to all. And so if you meet the criteria that we have publicly available, that your energy load can be interrupted, meaning we can shut it off when the system demands that, and you have more than 5 megawatts, then you're applicable for this rate. So that's available to anybody who wants to fit that type of deal. We have lots of different incentives. As many of you know, we've been part of many of the projects in this community that have helped create jobs and build a better, I think, community overall with different rates that we've used and passed through the cities. And so those exist everywhere overall. And lastly, I would just say, we are ratepayers too at Heartland, and our employees, us as individuals, are ratepayers too. So we're concerned about what those things are, and we see this as an asset, something that drives those costs lower, which we think is very positive overall, and we're a neighbor to this deal. If this was detrimental, I don't think that we'd be wanting to build that right in the same neighborhood that Heartland has their headquarters in, and many of us have our own values in our own purchases in as well too. And with that, I just stand by for questions, whether it be now or later. But when you're talking about rates, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. We built this in, we planned this. We haven't raised rates from Heartland's aspect in nearly a decade. And we don't have any plans to increase them. In fact, this is part of our plan to make sure that we're keeping those competitive. So I'll stand by for any questions now or later, Mr. Chair, whichever you prefer.
Any questions right now for Mr. Crabtree? Go ahead.
Does Heartland generate their own energy, or you purchase it from another company who generates it?
We are part of generation facilities, and we also purchase it from the market.
Okay,
So both,
so you wouldn't have any
Getting
control,
blinded by the light.
yeah.
so you guys wouldn't control if your generators increase their cost?
I wouldn't say that necessarily. We are part of a facility that we own a portion of in Nebraska. And so we are very involved in the operation of that through a different entity to try to hold those costs as low as possible. We also factor in different rate increases that are happening amongst the market and those types of things. And so we've been able to adjust that. So I guess just to go a little bit further, in a time when you have seen everything in the country increase in costs, we have been able to work with that to hold our rates steady. I just don't think you see that in many things.
Further questions? Okay, thank you very much.
I'll
We'll
stand
bring
by
you
for
back
further
now.
ones,
You
Mr.
bet.
Chair. Thank you.
Ann, you wanna, okay. Third row back here, proponents. The third row. And then, is there anybody in the fourth row? It doesn't look like it. So, back row.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Mike Plooster, Utility Director here at the city. I just wanted to make a point that we've done several town halls. We've done some education, a lot of education on this. And as an employee of the city, we want to take what the people are saying and listen and try to take what the best interest is. And some of the things that we've heard, some of the things that I've taken to heart is people on fixed income. You know, what can we do to keep the rates more stable? Just like anything, if we generate more revenue into our electric fund, that will allow us to stabilize and possibly lower rates in the future. It's a simple economics for us. We look at bringing a customer in. The only way we can do that is we need to sell more electricity. And we say at what cost? When it comes to health and standards like that, we don't want anything like that to slip. So the mitigation with the sound and anything that would be negatively impacting towards the city, that there's mitigation standards that are in place. So my main goal is to stabilize rates. When I was brought on a year ago, there are several projects that were in place that are going to affect the surcharges that are in place. And a way for us to offset that is to sell more electricity. And that's the main goal right here, is to stabilize rates for the people that are on fixed incomes, which I took to heart and I listened to, and that's one of my main goals. So I'll stand by for any questions you may have.
Questions? You can have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John,
Any
if I
other
could-
proponents in the last? Sorry.
I just wanted to interject just real quick. So, I mean, we're having a lot of discussions on, you know, rates and what that means. And as a resident of the city, I think that those are valid things. I just want, and Jameson had alluded to this earlier, I just want to remind that, you know, your decision on the conditional use, on the variance, those have to be rooted in zoning ordinance. And you kind of are going to have to stick to, you know, zoning territory and the performance standards within zoning ordinance. It has to be rooted in the ordinance. And for that, I mean, the conditional use, you'll be considering noise impact. You should talk about and require as a condition of the light manufacturing district decibel limits, mitigation measures for sound, physical appearance like exterior materials, height, setback, screening, lighting, et cetera. Environmental, if it affects other properties, and traffic and access. So just keep that in mind. I think these discussions on rates are good, but for the determination and the decision on a conditional use and a variance, those have to be rooted in ordinance. They can't be rates. They have to be, so.
Thank you. Okay, back row, I think we're looking for opponents now. No one? Okay, then the next row, Dan? Morning.
Morning. I just got some concerns as far as, especially noise. Carrie, you said that.
Can we make sure everybody, not just for you, Dan, but for everybody who speaks, make sure you get your name in for the record?
Oh, yes.
Dan Roman.
Thank you.
Yep. You said the noise was addressed at your guys' meeting. How was that noise addressed?
Basically, you're asking me to remember stuff here. Basically, it was, wanted to make sure that you didn't have some, or anybody living, within a distance out, the nearest house, and like, we're going to get this constant noise inside your homes, because that's, kind of a deal killer in some ways.
That's my main concern is
Yeah.
the 24/7 noise. It's not like a plant the cement plant shuts off at 4 or 5 o'clock, it's done. This thing will never shut off. So I am very concerned about the noise. Mayor Lindsay told me once that they were gonna dig it out and put it down below. Is that true?
Not that, that was not addressed in that meeting, so if that's going to happen, or if they put up a curtain.
Yeah. So it is high. That piece of ground, the fellow at the last meeting told me that it's the highest point in town. So that sound is gonna travel. It's gonna travel a long ways.
Yeah, and we did talk about, we were concerned that during the winter, when the sound
Yeah.
travels further,
Nighttime,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, anytime
amazing
it
how the
cools
sound
off.
travels.
Temperature. One of the things that I think we'll be addressing today is, we're addressing the sound curtain today. Yeah, that's one of the things that we'll be talking about.
Okay. So what I would like to ask, and I asked at the last meeting, is if you would do a third-party sound study. That somebody comes in and actually monitors that, not taking a sound out there and seeing what noise traffic is and like at my place and the surrounding property, but actually do something that they can tell, how loud is this place and what it's gonna be. We can't put it in and then say, oh golly, it's too loud. I mean, as citizens, we should be able, there is noise ordinance out there, and so we should have that peace and quiet.
Ms. Roman, I'm right here. How close do you live to the proposed location?
I think somebody told me that my front door is 1,000 feet away. And then there's a rental property probably closer, right on the highway there.
Thank you.
So those are my main things. Light pollution, are they gonna have lights up there? Are they gonna be just to the property, or are they gonna be shining out? How far? Trees, what size trees you're gonna plant if it goes in? I mean, are they gonna be seedlings, takes 20 years for them to grow up? How are they gonna replace them? When one dies out, are they gonna put in one of the same size? I just think it's gonna be up on a hill. It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be that, it's gonna look like a bunch of metal boxes when you come into town. It's not gonna look good, as far as I know. Shutting down, I guess we're getting into electricity. I won't go there.
What was addressed was the noise we get out of the generating plant that's there that turns on once in a while. Those are, I've seen pictures of the inside of that, and those are some huge
Yep.
generating diesels. So, to me, that would be the noise, and that's.
Oh,
over
I can
there.
hear that too. I'm not saying, I can hear those. I'm just worried, but they don't run all the time.
No, they don't.
So, but this is 24/7, nighttime. I mean, will the windows not be able to be open in the house? The hotel's close by. I think for the residents, I think we need to do a sound study.
So if those were all done and to your satisfaction, would you support the project?
I guess there's other things involved in it too,
Okay.
looks, I mean, like I said, it's at the highest point in town, unless you're gonna scrape
But there's
that thing.
things that could be done where you would support it eventually?
Now, there's
Or
other-
is it always gonna be no?
Well, I don't know if it's always gonna be no. I mean,
Okay.
those would be things if you could kind of hide it, the noise was down, the light was down. Yeah, I'm gonna go back into the electricity. If the electricity doesn't go up, I mean, we all know that if your peak energy, what if they drive our peak past our point of our peak, then our electricity rates will go up. I mean, who's gonna shut this thing down when we call and say, hey, we're just about at our peak, you know, and they used to call around and say, hey, can you shut some lights off? Who's gonna flip the switch on this thing? And how fast? Once we pass our peak, don't we pay more money?
I think that was addressed on that. Basically, this is the whole nice part about this this program, is the fact you can go shut it off. You can't do that to
Yeah.
a big facility at all, but this one, you just go click.
Yeah, my point is, but who will do it and how fast? You know, because once you cross that peak, don't you pay more electricity? Don't you pay a higher rate once you cross your peak?
I'm not the expert on that one.
Yeah, I don't know either, but it seems like in our business, they've told us when you hit a certain peak, then all of a sudden you pay a higher rate. And then that rate, it's not just for that 5 minutes you're higher, then you're all of a sudden in the next threshold. And I might be wrong.
I got a note on that
Okay.
we'll ask the people.
I'm sure there's people that got more stuff than me, but I'm really, really concerned about the noise of this place and the appearance.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now we're moving into the second row on my left. Yeah, go ahead.
I think Brian.
Oh, Brian, I'm sorry, but how did I miss him? You were slouched down or something. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm not that small, John.
You were slouching, Brian.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Kern. Like Dan, we have, Dan's house is there as well, but we have neighboring property that we purchased, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago.
Where is that located?
That is
From
the rental house in the, what is it, 32 acres there? Right to the west of where this would be. And obviously, there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to this thing. And I'm not saying that Madison, shouldn't have this, but I absolutely question where it's placed. When we purchased that property, a big part of it was to beautify as you're coming in, and to clean that thing up and to invite, business to town that are going to create jobs and employees. And I know, I agree with Mr. Crabtree that, Heartland has done a lot of good things, and they put money in different areas, but the one thing that they've asked me every time that we did a deal was, how many jobs are you gonna create? And, I happen to have 80 employees right across the road at Rosebud, and I know right now, I have a machine that has a very low tolerance for having power or not, and I don't get enough power for that right now. And my bill, if you can look it up, it probably averages $10,000 a month that goes to the city. But we have a problem getting enough power now. So we can sit here and say that it's not going to affect it, but, my answer to that is everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts, because I know better. Because we've been there and we've had that issue, and it can't get resolved. We haven't had any resolution to it, and it's been going on for a while.
Excuse me, is your inability to get enough power, is that due to your lines not being able to carry that much?
It's a problem from the city, not from the transformer we're in.
It would probably be a voltage issue. Would that be correct, Mike? Yeah. It wouldn't be a power supply challenge.
Yeah, they've came in and, we have, our techs come in from Stiles who has the equipment, and they say that, it gets short on power. So we don't know if it's a transformer problem, from the city or where the problem is, and the city's been in, but we just can't get resolution to it.
Okay, just so that we're clear, is one of the reasons we're building this in the location that we're building it is because it's right next to that generating plant. That there's simply no loss of electricity due to distance. You know, it's just like water. You set your hose out too far, and even if you got a pretty good pressure back here, by the time it gets way out there, it dribbles. And electricity is very much like there. Just like some of you would run into, sometimes you run out a couple of extension lines, and pretty, at the end of that extension lines, it can't run that much because a lot of that power is lost in transmission. So that they put that right there, and I think that's pretty crucial, so that you don't lose power through the transmission. Because we talked about why not putting it on the other side of Highway 34. That was something that was discussed.
Well, back in Industrial Park, behind me, seems like a much better place.
Yeah, but then again, we lose a lot of power through the transmission distance.
So, yeah, I mean, that's again, there's, all sides of that, and I realize, for the city, there's going to be some extra revenue and whatnot, but not everything should be about profitability and making money. When I built in 2002, when I built that American, I could have went to 1,000 different communities that would have been more lucrative. But it was about, what was best for the city. And I don't believe in that spot is the best for the city. I mean, that's somewhere welcome to Madison. You might as well, have more ponds. But, of course, you can't change that. I guess that's what I have. Any questions?
I guess one of the reasons that I'm more comfortable with this is I grew up with this kind of stuff. My father was one of the chief power dispatchers for California in the Central Valley Project. So, I don't see the usual things that would become a boondoggle on this project. And believe me, I've seen boondoggles.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Kern.
Appreciate it.
All right, Jim, sorry. Go ahead.
Jim Thompson. Brian said my comment really isn't about the construction and the zoning and all of that. I just want to bring up one point. Everything that was presented to us in the beginning meetings and the presentations was that this was going to be a Bitcoin mining center. And now she's telling us that it could be a data center. And the mayor said originally that the city would see $400,000 profit from this. And now he's brought it down to $200,000 up to $400,000. So at some point between Giga, Heartland, and the city, it's either misinformation or we're being lied to. And I don't trust the whole operation to turn out the way they're presenting it to us now. That's all I've got today.
Is there any way they could get your trust back?
It's hard once you've been lied to once.
You know that data and Bitcoin, that's the same equipment to use for either one.
It was never brought up as a data center. It was brought up specifically as a Bitcoin mining center. That's how it was presented to the city, to the public.
Same thing. Okay, you
But
can use a
that's
data
not-
center for Bitcoin mining and vice versa.
Vice versa, but that's not how it was presented in its original form. They said it was going to be a Bitcoin mining center.
I would disagree that it's the same stuff. Bitcoin mining takes a lot more energy than data center. Data center can be a lot more efficient. Bitcoin mining is very power hungry.
Well, that's because they're trying to quite literally process more data. Okay, it's the entire process of Bitcoin mining
Yep.
is basically processing data.
But you can't use the same hardware. Bitcoin mining requires specific hardware, and data mining, you can use an array, but you can't turn a Bitcoin miner into a data center usage. Like, a Bitcoin miner only mines Bitcoin.
I think, can I?
I might not be correct on that then.
I think we'll have Camille come back up
Let's-
later and address that.
I want to know specifically what it's going to be. And I'd also
Are you
like,
making notes, Camille? Okay. I'm trying, but my note-taking's terrible. Go ahead, Jim.
and Giga is going to be the operator, but who ultimately is going to receive the profits from this center? The city's going to get profits from leasing the land and from the pass-through electricity. But who's actually going to be the owner, the leaser
I think it was
from
already.
Giga?
Yeah, it was already discussed that they don't know yet. Is that right? That was my understanding, because I asked that question.
Okay,
They don't know yet.
that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Jim. All right, next in the second row. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner and the committee. I'm not either here to.
What's your name? I'm
Clint
sorry.
Hoyer, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Not really for or against either way, just have some questions. And most of them have been addressed here already, but, you know, power usage and that. You know, 5 megawatts and greater receives a tax break. How much energy does, say, Dakota Ethanol use, or Kibble Equipment, Lake County, Global Polymer? I don't know what their usage are, but it's probably around 3 megawatts, 3.5 or less. How many employees do they have? Considerable amount. How much property tax do they pay? They pay quite a bit. They're talking about different things here. Norfolk, Nebraska is a good one to look at. They started with a data mining Bitcoin. It turned into a huge facility. I think it's just under 100 megawatts, if I remember right. I could be wrong on that. But they have now the residents around that area because of what the concerns that have been voiced before. Noise, frequencies, and that type of thing. The animals, they've had to sell some of their animals, livestock, because it's bothering them. The health concerns of the people. They've had properties they want to sell because they want to get away from it, but their properties aren't worth as much anymore because of it, because they're having health issues. There is real health issues with this. You can go out throughout the country, whether you go to Virginia or Ohio or wherever you want to go. There is health issues and consequences with this type of facilities. Mentally, insomnia, it affects people in a great way. I think the city has to ask themselves, what can they accommodate in the future? Because this, if you take the Norfolk one, for example, they expanded. You know there's going to be expansion here. What can the city do? What are they going to add? What's Giga going to add in the future? What are you going to take away from in the future? Dakota Ethanol right now is expanding 50%. You as a city have to ask those questions. The other thing, what kind of, say this doesn't work so well? What's the decommissioning ordinance in the city for this? This is toxic waste. If they just pull up and leave. They're not the owner of the servers. You don't know who's going to operate them. Nobody in here knows who's going to operate them. So what's the decommissioning? Do you have an ordinance for that as a city?
I believe in one of our previous meetings, the city did talk about the agreement of it, they would pull out. They are in charge of clearing everything out and cleaning it all up. That was what I was told in the last meeting. So similar, I would want another commitment that that is actually part of the plan, that if this doesn't work.
I absolutely, they should be in a conditional use permit of some sort. I would agree. I'm just asking the questions. I don't have all the answers. Does Giga fall under the large load program? That'd probably be, you know, for Casey or somebody at Heartland. Because that's a new concept that was introduced, I believe, by Basin Electric just here within the year, but they can address that. You know, we're talking whether it's Bitcoin, bit mining, whatever it is. I don't know that, I wasn't here for all that. But I would like to know who profits. How is it profiting? I mean, Madison City's gonna get a pass-through, possibly. Is there a guarantee on that? Exactly what you're gonna get, whether they shut the power off or not? Because you can click that off and on. Are they gonna have a base that they're gonna pay you, profit, per month? You know, those are things you guys need to ask yourself. You know, isn't Bitcoin really even necessary in our world? I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know who owns it. I don't know who profits from it. I know when I have cash or silver or in my pocket, I can use it. I'm not a big fan of digital IDs, digital coins, or any of that sort, so. You know, we've had credit cards for a long time. There's been a lot of profit made in credit card companies. But the residents, businesses don't profit from the credit card industry. And I don't think we're gonna see profits from Bitcoin either. So I think decommissioning, I want to, you know, you kind of address that. There's several questions. I'm not gonna cover them all today. You guys need to ask yourselves that, and come to a rational decision. And I guess that's all I have, unless you have any other questions.
Any questions for Mr. Hoyer?
I would like to add, there is one thing, if I may. Heartland has been involved in a mining or Bitcoin operation, providing power to them in the city of Howard. I don't know if anybody's looked into it. I don't know what the profit margins are. I don't think it's been doing that well. And I know the residents of Howard, their electrical rates have increased. Now, I don't know what it's because of that or what, but Casey made the statement that Heartland hasn't increased rates for 10 years, a decade, nearly a decade. Well, who has? Because their rates have went up. So I just want that mentioned, maybe look into it. And thank you for your
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, who's next in line? Good morning.
Good morning.
Still morning, right?
Yes, it feels like it's later. I would like to, I'm kind of promoting our state motto. I'd like I think hopefully most people know it, but I think it needs to be publicized more because it's very important. It is recognized in our state constitution also. I have a couple.
Oh, but just go ahead and state your name.
Oh, sorry, Craig Hoffman. I know you know me.
Yeah, I know. I know you as Cornbread.
You're right. I got a lot of other names than that too. I do want to disclose, last week I called that number that was on that information that the city had, and I had a conversation with Camille, had a nice conversation. She did mention a couple things I will get into. One of the things I did hear today, I've been at a couple of the city commission meetings, and I heard that statement of $430,000 to the city. This is the first time I heard today the mayor said, well, between $200,000 and $400,000. That's a big change. That's dramatic change. It makes me wonder what's that future mean then if all of a sudden that revenue could drop in half. That's very substantial to this city because it's being promoted as a benefit to the city. Well, is there any contract? This has been mentioned I think a couple times. Is there any guarantee of that? I don't have the answer to that. That's something I think needs to be checked more. When I was talking to Camille, she said that, and you'll have to make sure I get this right, that you will shut down if the electric rates get too high. That's true? Okay, it's shutting down because the rates get too high is different than the city shutting you down because of a possible peak, right? You're saying that's the same? To me, the shutting down because the rate, I thought you'd be shut down before a peak. I didn't. You're saying that's the same thing?
You'll need to address all your comments to the planning commission.
Okay, well, I guess she's here to take questions, I thought, also. Oh, okay.
Afterwards.
She's taking good notes.
Okay.
We're taking.
Well, that's, all right, that's the question then. I didn't understand. When I heard her say, we'll shut down, she told me that it would be until the rates come down, which I took that as, that could be months, or I don't know how long. But depending how long they shut down, that will affect the city's revenue, because if you're getting the pass-through for energy use, I guess I want to see that addressed. Because rates, I have an article from Sioux Valley Energy that I get this magazine every month, I'm a co-op member, and rates went up in 26. He said they're going to go up in 27. It's right here in print. In subsequent years, it looks like the rates are going to keep going up, so I'm not quite sure how Heartland says rates haven't go up, and this is from Basin Electric is where they get their, and I think the city does too. So this is stating that rates are going up in 27 and they're probably going to go up in the future. So I guess I would like that addressed. There seems to be some discrepancy there. Speaking, when we talked about the power from Heartland was just it's going somewhere else and the city's not benefiting, but somebody is using that power. So if Heartland gives it to Giga, it is affecting whoever was getting it, so we still have to generate more power. So that did seem to make a lot of sense to me. And I have I think I should play this quick. Sioux Valley Energy, I sent this webinar to Camille also. They did a webinar in the
How long is this thing?
25 seconds.
Okay.
It's pretty.
There's no swearing or?
No.
Okay.
It's from a CEO of the co-op, I hope not. It's his statement saying what's coming in the future.
CEO of what?
Sioux Valley Energy.
Okay.
It's from a webinar that they presented specifically to talk about electric rates and data centers.
May not be having an increase this year. If they're growing, there's going to come a time when they have to, because this country, there's no other way to put it. I'm not trying to be overly dramatic, but at the growth we're seeing with the technology we're seeing out there, and it continues to just kind of come on exponentially, we are going to run out of energy if we don't build more generation. And again, not trying to be dramatic, it's just a mathematical fact.
I think that's a pretty big statement to make. And I understand demand is going up and up greatly and everything. Houses are getting bigger, farmers are getting bigger, everything. But if you don't keep up with generation, there's an old supply and demand saying electricity demand is going up. And if supply can't keep up with it, any commodity in this world, if supply doesn't keep up with demand, what happens? Your price goes up. So I don't see how that cannot happen with electricity. It's just a fact, unless electricity doesn't act like other commodities, but I believe it does. So as our demand goes up, if we cannot, it's going up so fast, that's what he's saying, we cannot meet the demand. So what's going to happen? Everything says, at basic economic principle, is your rates are going to go higher. I don't know that there's any way around that. That's, from what I know, that's basic economic business. So I guess I was part of a meeting also about a month ago that was there was a debate, and I asked a question to the presenter, Scott Sandel was his name, he owns a data center in Yankton. I said, if a city gives power to something that uses a lot of power, isn't that going to affect future business? And that was addressed a little bit, but that still is a concern. Just like that Tim McCarthy said on that video that the demand is so high, so how can we be assured that a future business coming to Madison isn't affected by the power that Giga will be using? I don't have the answer to that, but unless we keep our demand going up. So I guess that's my question. I would like Camille to address that one statement. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you.
Mike? Morning.
Good morning.
Go ahead, state your name.
Mike Johnson. I've got more questions on the zoning and development of the property than I do on the electric rates. I've heard we're gonna have 5 of these semi-containers. I've heard we're gonna have 10, 12, 20. What number are you guys being told?
I don't think we've been.
We haven't been told.
the number. Well, we have a diagram in here that shows about 14, I think.
Yeah, we just haven't got to that point yet.
Ask her, wouldn't she know?
Yeah,
8?
8?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so-
site plan that's included in your agenda package shows
So
the.
through the grapevine, or what I can glean is we're gonna start with 8 now. I was told 5. Then we're gonna go to either 12 or 20. So what is the total number of semi-containers we're gonna have sitting on this property?
I made a note of that.
She's from the company.
I'll
She said 8.
I'll
Oh,
ask,
sorry, John.
I'll ask the question about future growth. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, how many total semi-trailers are we gonna have sitting there?
Okay.
Okay, then my concern is they're gonna have security, whether it's cameras, lights, fences, whatever, okay? I own the property, I own the 148 acres on the east side of this. And I definitely do not want what we call light trespass past the property line. They have no business using my property to light up or to be an overrun of light to protect their property at my expense. Another thing is, they say they're gonna plant trees on the south side so it, covers it up from the city. Well, I want trees all the way around it. I want a minimum of 2 rows, because I don't wanna look at this thing. The other thing here that has been touched on, but sound suppression and the fence that they're talking about putting up with sound suppression on a chain link fence, I want the fence that they're putting around their property a minimum of 2 feet higher than the highest trailer. Sound suppression. Do you people know what a resonating frequency is? That can do a tremendous amount of damage. You've got fans kicking on and off, and you get a frequency coincide with a frequency. We don't know what's gonna happen. So I wanna know what we're gonna do to limit resonating frequencies, or get rid of them. Another thing, they talk about sheet siding. There's no other place in the city of Madison that we can have sheet siding. Why do we let them have sheet siding? The residents can't have it, so we're bending over backwards for a out-of-state company to come in and not abide by zoning. The other thing, we as neighbors, Brian and Dan and myself we're 100% landowners around this place. And we have not been presented with a topographical drainage plan, water retention, how they're gonna set this place up. The other thing is, the one plan or sheet, they're showing that they're having their driveway come out to the middle of the township road. That's a platted township road. They have no business being further than the right-of-way line. They don't have that option to come that 33 feet into the center of the road. And that is a township road. And that's how I access the south part of my 148 acres, because the creek cuts through it. The drainage plan, where's the water gonna go? That's not been addressed. What's the distance from the buildings from the property line, the fences, the trees? That hasn't been addressed. And I've alluded to this with the prior, is what is the height of these semi-trailers? Are they 8, 10, 12? Are they 14? The other thing that I wanted to be included in these, on a conditional use permit, is I'm pretty sure they're gonna have security cameras. I don't want their security cameras videotaping anything past the property line. That's my business, not theirs. Do we have a guarantee or a confirmation that no water will be used in the cooling? I've been told it's gonna be closed circuit. Now I've told it's air cooled with fans. I mean, there's so many things that are changing. It just depends on what day of the week. And personally, I don't think you can make a decision today, personally. There's way too many questions for us landowners and taxpayers that haven't been answered today. The other thing is that I want to know is who's going to enforce these conditions? Who's going to, let's suppose we're 10 years, for example, down the road, and we get trees dying. Who's going to say, replace the tree? And I don't want a tree replaced with a 5-footer after they've grown for 10 years. I want somebody to have responsibility for this. The other thing is, I've had a licensed, permitted, state licensed and permitted gravel pit since 1998. And we crush, we wash, we make dust. We fall under what's acceptable dust particle level in the air for the state Department of Environment and Natural Resource. I have to certify that every year. So I don't want them coming back and saying, oh, you're generating too much dust or whatever. I was there first. Excuse me. The property that I have is, some of it's tillable, crop producing. The majority of it is pasture and hay ground. And we run cows on it. Sometimes they're pregnant cows, sometimes it's cow-calf pairs. And just letting you know that livestock will be on my property, and you know, legally or by the way a farmer fences or we fence, is you stand on your side of the property, you look at your fence and you fence everything to the right, whatever. So I want to make sure that I'm not having to pay and put labor and expense into keeping a fence up that's their responsibility. University of Michigan. Studies, and this was brought up earlier, studies have shown that data centers are detrimental to the livestock and breeding, in this case, of cows. They've done wildlife studies also that screw up migration, whatever, from these fans and all this generation of energy. The other thing that I've come to mind is we're selling electricity for this data center, which in my opinion has the possibility of restricting new businesses and economic growth because we're pumping all our money into this. Another thing and they've alluded to this prior, that it's going to adversely affect my property values and my plans for development on this property. And this was brought up too, and I've got the same concern, is what are the requirements that when the property or technology changes, that this becomes obsolete, outdated. who, we can say, well, they're responsible for cleaning it up. But you can tell by some of the properties that are in the city of Madison that are a mess, and they've been a mess for 40 years, and they aren't cleaned up. So I don't see any difference with this situation if it becomes non-profitable. Just pull the pin. Who's in charge? Another question I have is who, maybe you said something and I didn't hear it, who owns the land that these trailers are gonna be on?
The city.
City does, yep.
Okay, what's the rental fee for this property?
That would be part of that lease agreement.
Pardon what?
I'm not privy to what that lease agreement would be. That would be something that's dealt with the staff and city commission. I'm not sure what that number is.
So we don't know if we're giving the land to them, or we're getting $1 for it, or, I mean, as a businessman, this is ridiculous in my book. You don't know if you're gonna sell it to them, you don't know if you're gonna lease it to them, you don't know if you're gonna rent it to them.
That's not part of what our board would be in, Mike, you know that.
Right.
That's out of our realm as our board.
Well, if you're gonna
We're
be
not
the
in that.
landowner, then,
But it was just noted the city owns the land, so that is between whoever makes the contracts with the city and that, not our board.
okay, in closing, the planning commission and the city commission just turned down a development in the northeast part of town. The guy wanted to make twin homes, fourplexes, and what have you. He wanted to finish developing his property, but the neighbors came and spoke against it and gave reason why they didn't want it. And I think Roman, Kern, and Johnson are in the same category. We're the landowners, we don't want it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right. Do you want to? Okay.
Jim Thompson. If I recall correctly, the city commission at one time had a discussion on shipping containers in Madison. Did that pass or did that fail? Can a person bring a shipping container into their property?
That's this sheet siding provision in our ordinance, so we allow sheet siding in certain areas. This is not one that allows it without a variance, so that's how we're dealing with those is that sheet siding provision.
Okay, but I guess I'm looking more for the shipping container part of it. Can anybody in Madison buy a shipping container and put it on their property for storage?
Yeah, so in residential zones, it's strictly prohibited. You cannot have metal material on a sidewall, and these shipping containers would, and so that would make that a prohibition. In certain, like heavy manufacturing areas, we do allow sheet siding, and so you could potentially move one on to that. And that would be subject to any building code regulations as far as anchoring and such like that, but it would meet the zoning ordinance side of it. So it's gonna depend on what zone you're in and what overlay district you're in.
Okay. And the other point is, originally, when this was presented to all of us at the public meetings, it was supposed to be 5 to 6 shipping containers. And now this is the first time I'm hearing 14 shipping containers.
8.
Well, that's just a picture of it, but we were told it could expand. The piece of land is not very large, but we were told in the last meeting that it could expand.
Okay. That's all I've got.
This would be their official submittal, so this is, what they're asking for is 8.
Okay, second row, any opponents? Okay, and first row. Morning. Yep.
I'm not
Go
speaking
ahead and
as
state your name.
Oh, sorry. Jenny Wolf. I'm the Finance Commissioner and first alternate to the Board of Adjustment. I am not speaking necessarily as a proponent or opponent. I just thought it might be beneficial to share some of the things that I would be considering if I was sitting up there with you as a voting member, as well as some of my take as the Finance Commissioner. I will try to address my comments mostly to planning and zoning related items, although because there has been a lot of discussion about the electric rate impact, I did just want to share a little bit of my perspective from the Finance Commission. So I have the same concerns about what is this going to do with our electric rates. And I have had a number of conversations with Harlan's engineers, with Mike Plooster. I asked Mike Plooster to have Blair Metzger from DGR do some rate analysis as to what this would do to our rates with the load and without the load, and also our Director of Finance, Amy Willis, has done some extensive analysis as to the impact that this will have on our electric rates. So all of that being said, everything that I have learned from other people indicates that this will offer stability to our electric rates. So nobody is saying that it's going to make them go down, but what it will do is it will offer stability. It will generate additional revenue that we would not have otherwise. So it's going to help us accelerate our debt repayment. It's going to, as additional things come up, it's going to give us more funding to make improvements. It's going to offer stability. So not necessarily make rates go down, but it will be an improvement to our electric revenues based on everything that I have heard. So there's the electric revenue piece. The other, and that is one concern that I have heard a lot, is the two things that the public has come to me about is concerns about electric rates, and the second concern that I'm primarily hearing is the sound impacts. Just one more note on the electric rate piece of it. Outside of the data center, one of the biggest concerns that we hear as commissioners is the strain of rising utility rates and the surcharges that we implemented and all of those things. Operationally, there certainly are other pros and cons to this facility, but as it relates to our electric revenue, this is one avenue that will offer some relief to those who are feeling the strain of increased electric rates. All right, so back to the zoning and planning side of things. Again, not speaking in favor or against necessarily. I just want to encourage you as the Board of Adjustment, any action that you are taking, be rooted in the zoning and planning side of things, as opposed to getting into some of the other concerns that are valid concerns, but not within the purview of the Board of Adjustment. And I say that because as a quasi-judicial board, if you make any action that is outside of this purview, it could open the board up to possibly having that decision challenged. So, whether it's somebody who is for or against the project, if any of your action would include things related to electric rates or even, some of the decommissioning concerns that I've heard, just be very careful as you're structuring any of your actions that it really is on the Board of Adjustment purview. The other thing that I would just like to note is to be very specific in any conditions that you are looking to place on this. I know as a member of the Planning Commission and now the alternate to the Board of Adjustment, that's been something that we've talked about before, is having teeth to the conditions that we place on things. So sound, for example, being one of those things that is very much a concern for people, as opposed to just saying, the facility will meet sound requirements. Encourage you to be very specific as to how those sound requirements are going to be met. You know, heard some concerns too about the vibrations and about, you know, the height of the land there where it's going to be up higher. So all things to take into consideration. And, you know, regarding the sound concerns, a decibel reading at a snapshot in time is also very different than a long-term, constant decibel. So I'm just encouraging you to think about how you might offer some things to ensure that people's concerns regarding the sound, the appearance, all of those things are adhered to. And then there have been some questions brought up as to who owns the land. It has been discussed that, yes, the city owns the land. So I did just want to point out that that does offer another level for the public who has concerns. If you grant the conditional use permit and this project does move forward, there will be more opportunity for some of these concerns to be heard at that time too when we discuss the lease agreements. And the commission certainly will be looking at things like the decommissioning protocols, the utility structure and things like that. Where there might be a little bit of play is, you know, we've heard several people brought up, initially this project was going to be 5 shipping containers and now it's going to be 8 shipping containers or however many. That is another concern that I have heard is, you know, is this going to open the door to becoming a massive 500 megawatt facility? Logistically, no, like we don't have the electric infrastructure to be able to serve a load like that. But if it would offer some assurance to people who do have concerns about, is this project going to grow out of control, that might be another something to take into consideration is, are you just approving the 8 shipping containers that have been proposed today, or you know, what growth are we supporting at this time? So I just wanted to bring up a few of those points for your benefit as well as for the benefit of the stakeholders who have so graciously given us their time this morning to offer their input, and anybody who may be listening online. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Ms. Wall.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I think that was all the public comment we have. Ms. Foley, we got a lot of things. We got things. So I think maybe I'll just let you try to address what you heard out here, and then if we have further questions, we'll just keep launching them towards you.
Sure thing. I also do have a presentation that unfortunately I don't have enough copies of, but I can hand these out to y'all.
You two can share one.
I don't want to share.
You guys can share one down there.
I'll move on over.
How about the audience? I mean, okay.
I can.
So this is new information, not in our packets, is that right?
That's correct, and I can pass this along digitally in case you would like to make this accessible to other folks.
Okay, but this is not gonna be new stuff that we haven't already addressed?
No.
Okay.
No. So I wanted to just go through many of the questions that have been brought up by the city and by yourselves, and I'll just kind of go in order of my notes, and hopefully I'm able to address a lot of these questions and concerns. So as we'd mentioned before, our customers not known yet, so it could be a Bitcoin customer or a data center. The energy consumption is still the same, so we're still limited at that 10 megawatts for consumption at the facility.
And one other question with that was, is it the same equipment?
So some of the equipment that's actually inserted into the modular units is different. It really just depends on the customer and the equipment, and I'm not technical enough to know all the differences. But the same data center modular unit can house either type of equipment. So the actual building itself does not need to be swapped out if it's a Bitcoin facility or if it's a data center operator. A bunch of questions have come up about noise. Absolutely, we've done sound studies before at our operational facilities. That's something that we've engaged third parties to conduct on our behalf, and we are happy to do that if that does become a condition of the permit as well.
So these are independent, third party?
Independent studies, yes.
Okay, not associated with the city of Madison or Giga?
No.
Okay.
Contracted with a company called TRC is who we've used on other sound studies, but there's a number of engineering parties that can conduct these studies.
And or would the city go with their own third party?
Any third party is fine with us. We haven't done sound studies for any other projects, so if they have a third-party consultant that they've used, I would defer towards that.
Okay.
The presentation that I have handed out, there have been a number of questions about flexible data centers and loads. I think that you had actually brought up that if you have a negative outlook, you do get a lot of negative feedback when you're doing a Google search. This just references a handful of articles that have some positive and I would say useful and helpful information in them regarding flexible loads and how they can support the grid. So just included those in there for your reference. There was a question that came up about sound barriers, or I guess a number of questions about sound barriers and the fact that the actual facility location is currently higher than other areas of the town. So we can address that in earthwork and grading of the facility. We have a number of different sound barrier options that are available and at our disposal. So one that was provided in the application packet was the Acoustifence to reduce sound coming off the facility. That's just one of many different options that are available. We could also install an earth berm or construct a different type of fencing depending on the visual impact and how you would like the facility to look from the highway or from any other part of the area where you can see the site. So I would say take that into consideration as well, that we are open to addressing that during earthwork and getting rid of some of that higher grading on the facility point. Someone had mentioned just, I believe in the last comment, where's the water going to be coming from? I had mentioned this when I first came up, but the facility is air cooled and there will be no water use on the site at all. We don't require any water for the facility.
No matter if it's a data center or Bitcoin?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe some of the water comment was maybe for runoff, say rain off the site itself.
Oh, I see.
Not usage of your equipment.
Understand.
But drainage from the site.
Understand. And that can be addressed during grading and earthwork of the facility as well to address that. There were questions about the height of the buildings. Each of the modular units is 10 feet in height. There was a question also about the setback of the facility from the property line. It is about a 25-foot setback from the property line off of the road that would be constructed as an access point to the facility. I believe there was also a question about whether the facility itself would be buried underground. No, it won't be buried underground. We usually pour concrete foundations for the modular units to be set upon, or we can also do precast concrete foundations that are laid on site, and then the facility is, brought out and shipped and placed there as well. There is some digging on the site, but it's just for underground cabling and fiber connections. In terms of light pollution, that'll be very minimal on site. There will be a couple of lights, obviously, for security purposes to keep the facility safe, but it won't be like lights that people are seeing off of giant wind towers, of course, that are much higher as well, where it's just a constant glare of light coming into people's homes and residences. In terms of visual impact, we had mentioned before that we have put in a landscape buffer of a tree lining across the southern portion of the property facing the highway. We can install additional tree landscaping if necessary, but I think that will really be up to the commission and how you would like to address landscaping requirements for the facility. In terms of additional beautification, I would say for the site, we have offered the 6 to 8 foot chain link fencing. There's other fencing options that are available that we could use depending on your requirements. And then we have also spoken to the city about the possibility of putting up, say, a City of Madison welcome sign in front of the facility. So that's just another beautification option that's available.
Excuse me, on the fencing, is that something you're gonna do regardless, or is that optional?
The chain link fencing we'll do regardless.
Okay. It's for security?
Correct. There was a question about how fast the facility can be shut off. For us, it can be shut off in a matter of minutes, typically less than 6 minutes. So once we receive the request to go offline from the utility, we can just shut down the
Who does the
facility.
request come from?
From Heartland,
Heartland?
yeah.
We received it from SPD.
Okay. And that's pretty instantaneous, or?
Yes.
It's been mentioned a few times as well, but the City of Madison does own the land and will be leasing from the city. So there'll be ongoing involvement with the city in construction and operations of this facility. There have been a number of questions about and concerns, I would say, about the facility growing out of proportion and really just blowing up. I will mention that we are limited by both parcel size. There's only about 4 acres, a little bit less than that, of land available to us, and we're also constrained by available capacity. So at this time, only 10 megawatts is available and is being offered for us to be able to pull that power for the facility. If we were to upgrade in the future, which I wouldn't say is outside of the realm of possibilities, again, we would be constrained by the size of the parcel, and it would require significant system upgrades that we would be on the hook for paying for.
I have a follow-up to that then. Ryan, would they have to come back before us if they wanted to do any future growth at all like that? Especially considering we'd put conditions on this for the existing.
That's right. You'd be putting conditions on based on the 8 and the noise levels for 8. If there's additional ones, yes, I think it would be appropriate if they came back for another conditional use.
But is it mandatory? Or?
Yes, I would call it mandatory because
Okay.
you're changing what was approved. And each conditional use, each variance, once something changes, then they need to reapply and get reapproval. And that would be no different from, this or, example of the prior rezone. If you would rezone that property and something substantially changed on that, then they would have a conditional use.
Thank you. Go ahead.
We're in agreement there too. So we know that we'd be going through the same public process if we did want to expand in the future. Let's see. So there was a question about why here and why we're siting the facility next to this substation. This was the substation where it was identified that there is available capacity. And it's, the closest site we can get to the substation. So in terms of actual visual impact, if we were to move the site somewhere else, there would still be overhead transmission line that we would need to be installed to reach the substation. As you mentioned, Carrie, there's, losses along those lines, but just outside of that too is the visual impact of additional overhead lines that would need to be installed going into that same substation.
Yeah, one of the comments was, why not the True Shrimp location?
Fake shrimp?
Seems like what was it?
Fake shrimp?
Fake shrimp. A lot of people that I've talked to says that's a much better location, but it would be cost prohibitive to you guys, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the further distance we go away, obviously overhead transmission line is very expensive, and so at some point it does become cost prohibitive, and also at some point we just have to walk away because it will become too expensive. One other question was brought up about the rate. I think any rate specifically, anyone with Heartland, Casey, or another representative can address directly. They have mentioned that they haven't raised rates in almost 10 years. So I think that if there are questions about the interruptible load and how that operates or functions from their side, I would go directly to them. And then there was another question about who would be responsible for enforcing these rules. So that would be the city of Madison. There are conditions that are going to be outlined in the permit approval that we are going to be required to abide by and will be enforced by the city throughout the life of the project. During construction, if we're not doing something according to the requirements, then we'll, have to go through enforcement procedures with the city for that as well. So we'll be responsible for following all of those conditions as well as applicable laws in construction of the facility. And then finally, on decommissioning of the facility, yes, I've seen that in other conditional use permits as being outlined as a requirement of the facility, either at the end of useful life or if the property is abandoned or isn't functioning for a set period of time. Certainly understand that decommissioning would be a requirement, and we're subject to the same requirements in other jurisdictions.
Do we want Mr. Crabtree to address the point about the rates? He had claimed that the rates hadn't increased, but I don't know if the rest of us residents feel that way.
That is zoning. I'm going
Yeah,
along with Ryan.
I know, but
Let's keep it the zoning. Yeah. The lights, the surveillance, the noise.
Yeah, really appreciate the chance to come back up and visit with you again. Casey Crabtree with Heartland Energy. Any specific questions you want to ask, Mr. Chair, or you just want me to kind of readdress?
Well, yeah, I saw you taking notes over there, so, I mean, were there anything from the public that you wanted to respond to?
Sure, okay. Open floor, I appreciate that. A couple of things. One, there was just talking about different sites, and I'll just mention this from an economic development perspective. To put this on a site where we've got water and wastewater, especially different sites in the industrial park, doesn't make any sense. We've made a huge investment as a city into having those utilities reach those other pieces of ground. And as you heard, this particular facility doesn't need water or wastewater. And so that would really be a bad use of that piece of ground. And so here, I think we have some advantages because the city owns it. They'll have additional revenue based off of their land lease, whichever they decide to do, as well as obviously the revenue they get from the utilities overall. So just going back into the rate increase and how that, or the rates and where they're at. So in the course of 10 years, Heartland has not raised their rate. That doesn't mean that that's what you pay. Heartland is a wholesale provider of energy. The city gets its energy from WAPA, and it gets its energy from Heartland. So any supplemental piece comes from us. So did WAPA have increases? Probably. Heartland hasn't had any increases, and we're not forecasting any increases. Has the city had increased costs to keep employees or go back and put a new transformer in? Yes, I'm sure they have, because everything in the last 5 years has increased. And so you've probably seen some of those things. Heartland, again, has not had one in nearly a decade. Now, there has been some other discussions about other utilities that folks who don't live in the city and don't pay utilities in here had brought up questions. Those aren't us. Those are a different utility. So they're talking about somebody else's business, somebody else's way. So when I think about how the utilities work in general, there's a lot of, I would say, confusion amongst folks on how those actually work. So I do want to just go back and address one that my friend Dan had brought up about raising the peak. This is a pass-through rate, so that it works completely different. So it's not going to change your rates. The city of Madison is not going to be impacted. Consumers are not going to be impacted negatively there. There's no shift that goes on there. There's only a benefit there. Now, there was also other questions, and I wasn't at the earlier meetings. I was gone through the winter. I spent that out in Pierre. But there was questions about what the revenue would be from the city. Well, the rate agreement exists so that there is that one cent adder that goes for the city. So the more that the customer uses, so in this case, Giga, the more profit there would be for the city. The less they use, and the less often they're running, or whatever it might be, the less often, or the less revenue there would be. If they add facilities on that thing down the road, which they don't, it clearly looks like they're not planning, but if they did, your revenue would go up. So that's how it works. So there was questions brought up from a couple other folks about how that works. The more they use, the more revenue it is for the city. It corresponds there. That's the rate agreement that is set. So there's, I don't think any differences when it comes to that piece. And so those are a couple things that I just kind of wanted to make clear. There was also a question about where Howard is at. They don't have anything near this size of a facility going there. There's a small operation there. I believe that ended up being the largest sales tax provider for the city during that whole time. So the city was very happy, no complaints from any customers. What has Howard had happen? Howard has also gone through things just like the city has, where they're doing underground projects, things of this nature. And so have they seen rate increases from the city? Maybe because of things that have nothing to do with Heartland or that project. So with the fact that it is baseball season, I would just remind this crew to keep your eye on the ball on the things that are here today. Does it negatively impact any of the other neighbors? It does not. And we clearly saw or talk about noise levels, making sure that those are mitigated, and the third party being able to come back in to do that. Is it consistent with what the district use is? It certainly is. And is this the best site for something like this in the town? I think that's without a doubt, yes. So with that, I'd stand by for any further questions.
Thank you.
Seeing done, thanks.
Just hold on a second. I had some questions for the city. I mean, who's going to be the representative for the city?
I can field them to start, and I may call on others to help.
So, as far as like, if this is passed, and who's monitoring things if it changes? Are we allowing, is the customer or the person that's leasing this place, are they just gonna monitor themselves?
Yeah.
Or is it complaint based, say when Mr. Roman says, hey, something's different, it's louder, how is that gonna be monitored?
Yeah, good question. First off, on the approval process, so today, tackling that conditional use permit variance request, should those be approved, then the city commission will have multiple actions to consider, such as a land lease agreement, electric service agreements, possibly other changes that are needed to accommodate this. So there's going to be other opportunities for some of these items to be tackled as well. Should those items all be approved, and there's a lot of steps yet, and this operation goes into effect, I think it's all of the above from what you described. I think the applicant has the responsibility to fulfill the requirements and conditions placed on the conditional use permit and anything else through any of the agreements. The city has the authority to monitor that and enforce anything that's not being held or not being compliant. And then anyone who has concerns or sees anything that might not be in compliant, they can certainly report that as well on a concern basis to complain to the city, whether it's engineering department or anyone else, and then we can look into that and put on our monitoring hat.
But would it be on a regular schedule, like a monthly thing?
Oh, Ryan, maybe you can speak to that. Obviously, we do a lot of conditional use permits. What's your philosophy there?
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're monitoring them monthly, but we keep an eye on what's been approved as far as variances go and conditional uses, and make sure that they're still complying with what was agreed to at that meeting. Occasionally, we have to reach out to people and give them a gentle reminder of what was approved, and that typically takes care of it. I don't think we've ever had to rise it to the level of, getting too far, but we are pretty active.
I don't want to be stealing all of your guys' follow-up questions. And I promise I'll get back to you, Mike. I'll get back to you. So do you guys have follow-up questions?
How many communities are you currently in?
So we have 15 operational facilities.
I'll just repeat that for the record here. So the question was, how many communities is Giga in? And her answer was that they have 15 operational facilities.
You might as well come back up, because I'm going to have some questions for you, too. Okay. So 15, you've constructed 15?
That's correct.
Okay, but you don't operate those?
So we support in the operations of all of these facilities, though we have various different customers leasing the actual racking space.
And you may or may not know this, but how close to the city are these? Are they actually in cities?
I don't have the specifics on all of the sites, but it varies from site to site. Some are within city limits, some are within extraterritorial jurisdiction, and some are outside of city limits and the ETJ.
Can I keep going? Do you have backup generators at these facilities?
No, we do not.
Okay, so if you lose power, you're just out?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that answers a lot of my questions. Literally, like, are they gas? Are they diesel? You don't have them.
No.
And then, is there any testing that's involved in these data centers on a regular basis that creates extra noise?
Yes, sir. I wouldn't say they create extra noise. There is ongoing testing of the facility to make sure it's operating properly. I don't have all of the details of what the test procedures look like, but there's also commissioning procedures when the facility is brought online to make sure everything is operating correctly and smoothly.
Okay, so no additional noise that you're aware of?
No, sir.
Okay. So once we get the results of the noise test, we can believe that that's what it's going to be?
Yes, sir. That's my understanding.
All right.
I did like you mentioned the kind of leasing of the rack space. So that is, like I said, it can be data or it can be Bitcoin.
That's right, sir.
Okay.
And then a question for Ryan. There was some comments about lighting and noise and also security cameras. But are there any ordinances for the city of Madison that put restrictions or restrict this or monitor this at all?
Definitely not, definitely not security cameras or anything like that. I mean, you're allowed to put up security cameras and monitor your property. So there's nothing as far as that goes. You know, as far as lighting goes, we do have some restrictions in certain areas on how far the light casts out. In this particular location, no, we don't.
And then there's no noise ordinance?
What we have in the light manufacturing is our noise performance requirements, and that's that no operation should be carried which involves noise in excess of normal traffic noise on the adjacent street at the time of daily peak of traffic volume. So in order to determine what that decibel level would be, you'd have to probably use a suitable instrument, do a measurement, and that might include some breakdown into frequency ranges and use that as the decibel level, and then they would have to make sure they don't exceed that.
And then are there noise restrictions in residential? Because this noise would carry to residential areas, or does that not count? Since it's originating from light manufacturing.
Yeah, I would say because it's originated from the light manufacturing and it indicates that the decibel level should be measured at that property line, that's what would rule.
And then, Ms. Foley, you had stated in your letter to us that it'll be maximum 50 decibels at the property line. Is that fact?
That's the, that's the result of other sound
Other
studies that
studies,
we've
okay.
conducted, so we would
No
expect
study.
similar results.
Again, no study there in that location, because as they mentioned, it's very high. There's you guys aren't digging this down right now. We're not proposing that, right?
That's correct.
It's on that same level.
Yeah, I had mentioned that we could provide gradient earthwork to sort of flatten out the terrain, so we're not up on a hill. but we're not actually burying the data center modular buildings or that infrastructure underground.
Wouldn't a sound study aid in determining what that grade should be or how it would differ?
That's right, yes. So the sound study results would give an indication of what the existing sound levels are at the site and in the surrounding vicinity, and then also offer suggestions for sound reduction in construction of the facility to make it as quiet as possible to anyone coming near the site.
So as far as the daily on-site management and the operation, would that change depending on what goes in, or what does that look like?
No, ma'am. So the daily operation, there will be someone on site daily, regardless of whether it's a data center or a Bitcoin facility. There's typically operators there just to troubleshoot in case, say, one of the fans goes down, or just to monitor the performance on site of the facility.
On page 13, I think it's showing up there too. Is there a gate on the south end? I mean, could you close the access, or?
That's correct. There would be a gate closing access to the facility that would typically be locked when no one is there.
Okay, if that's so, then would the fire department have access somehow in case of a fire to get into the property?
Yes, so we plan to have a conversation with the city fire marshal and provide our plans and ensure that they would have the appropriate access in case it's needed.
And are there people, are there trucks or vehicles coming into this facility on a daily basis? Is there regular vehicle traffic?
There would be very minor vehicle traffic. It would be, say, maybe a couple of people coming into the facility on a daily basis for operations.
Follow-up questions for Ms. Foley? Okay, I'm gonna go back to Mike. Mike, just keep it brief and go ahead and have your follow-up here.
Thank you. Couple of questions that I've been thinking of back there. For one, on this sound test, you don't let the applicant pick the company they want to do the sound test. You tell them what sound testing company you want to use. That way, everything is on the up and up. We aren't in bed with anybody, okay? You guys are the owners. The other thing of it is when do we get a final plan? I mean, we're talking about, you know, maybe you're gonna have 1 or 2 lights, maybe you're gonna do this with the fence. You know, there's nothing in concrete here. There's not a set of plans like I get when I have a site development to do. We don't know the elevations of the finished product. We don't know how it's gonna be constructed. We don't know anything about how it's gonna be built. It's kinda like, you know, buying a car and the salesman picks out the options for you, you know. As far as, for instance, the light trespass, I mean, I need some assurances from the owner that I don't have a spotlight shining on me. Or I definitely do not want the light going past the property line. The way I understand this conditional use that we're talking about is whatever you decide is what stays. Is that right? That's what goes into the formation of the site plan.
Yeah, so the site plan that was submitted, I mean, the planning commission has the option to say, yes, this meets all of our conditions and just go ahead and build as is, or they can place additional considerations and conditions on it.
Okay, so that's what I'm concerned about. We show on a set of plans that we've got a driveway going out to the middle of the road and it's concrete. They have no business being in the right of way. The other thing that I'd say is, why have we asked for references from other cities or other providers, or that they've provided to? How do we know that we aren't getting into a mess? And then, yeah, I would just hope that we get a set of plans so we'd know, you know, what's gonna happen, elevations, grades, finished product. Thank you.
Thank you. Follow, okay, just,
Can we get a break here? My bladder's giving out.
oh, sorry.
Okay, I need to use the restroom here, so.
Oh, okay.
Right here, I think some of us have probably hit that line already.
All right. Should we take a little 5-minute recess? So there's some of us that have to use the restroom.
Yeah, we've gone,
That depends.
So, full take.
when you're an old man, what happens?
Yeah, I think we can.
Oh, you can leave yours, unless you're gonna say something. We don't wanna hear it. What's that? Clint Ware.
I got a meeting at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I've already had to cancel my 9:15 appointment.
Table one and
Actually, Meyer County, we got a whole
Oh, really?
1 week or something. Maybe meet with the city attorney.
It's gonna be a tough vote.
Yeah.
Can we do it in stages?
That's why we're here.
Yeah, can we break up into little groups and each of us have a topic?
A little breakout session. I recently did do the public comments, close that down.
How you doing, Bob?
Doing good, doing good. You? You look pretty damn serious, though.
least that's the feeling. Hi. Do you have to leave too? Did Roger leave? No, he's still here. His phone's still on. Okay.
You and I have been on here a long time. This is the first. Earned her $25 today.
And then some.
Okay, I think we're going to reconvene. If any of the committee has to leave, we do have alternates that have been here for the entire meeting that can step in if you need to leave.
Yes, I do have a meeting at 10, unfortunately, I cannot miss,
Okay,
so I will excuse myself from the meeting.
okay, appreciate it.
Be appropriate to have a motion to close the public meeting. We've had
I got one more that I already
Oh, it's-
committed to.
okay. One more.
One more. Yep, yep. Well, hold on a second. You can go ahead and leave. Jennifer, are you the senior member of the alternates? So go ahead and have a seat up here. Oh, no.
John, I think I'll touch on one thing. Chairman, I'm gonna, just because Mike Johnson had mentioned drainage, I just wanted to make a comment that final drainage and grading plan, that has to be submitted for review by our department. That shall, as much as possible, be laid out to conform with the natural contour of the land. But the final drainage plan has to show that proposed development won't increase in peak stormwater rates up to the 100-year storm event. So that's 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year. So they would have to accommodate all of those peak outflows. And that should, I would hope would settle some of the concern about drainage.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hoyer.
Yes, the Clint Hoyer again. Just make this real brief. First thing, who's in charge of donuts and coffee in that?
You were supposed to bring them.
Yeah, somebody failed. Anyway, I wanted to make it real clear on, I'll ask the question, does the city have any data ordinances, data center ordinance at all in place?
No.
So I think that's probably one of the first steps you guys need to really look at. And I mentioned decommissioning, and Chairman DeMore said that they have an agreement, so to speak. But that's just an agreement. That's a gentleman's agreement. You need to actually have something in place that has some teeth into it, bonded or some sort of set aside monies from Giga to make sure, because they could just, I hate to say it, I'm not saying they're a bad company or anything, but there's the facts that remain that companies do fail, or they just decide this isn't a good fit, pull up and they're gone. That agreement is null and void. Then the city's got to go through legal fees and processes that I don't think anybody wants to do. So I would recommend having them bonded at the very least, or some kind of escrow for that decommissioning, whatever you would, I don't know what the cost of the site and what all that's gonna be. But there's a lot of things. I'm sitting here with a county ordinance, and there's intent permitting, siting requirements, utility notifications, noise limiting, a whole section of decommissioning, and what timeframes and et cetera, that, after they leave, or how's that site gonna be restored? You know, is it gonna be, is it underground cables that she mentioned, gonna be tore up, or what's actually gonna look like when the site, if they're gone? I'm not saying they are, but we gotta look at those things. The city of Madison has to look at those things. And like, again, I'd reiterate the cost responsibility, make sure there's some type of bonding in place for that. There's a whole list here of things I could go through. I won't bore you with them, but there's a lot of things that have been missed today in preparation for this. There's a lot of unknowns, a lot of unanswered questions. I think each and every one of you have to ask yourselves and look into it and probably put a task force together or something on that order to study an ordinance for this type of business. Because it's not going to go away. It's going to be here in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I am going to end the public portion of the hearing. Move, and I think I lost my agenda. Item 2, which is a decision on the appeal number 762 and discussion, board discussion. So we heard a lot of comments. And there's a lot of details to get through. I guess the one thing for me is the lack of on-site sound testing. There's testing, I mean, the mayor provided some general stuff, but we haven't done anything on-site for testing yet. So that's a concern I have, so that the neighbors are protected from sound and not just from, you know, somebody's word for it. I would like to see something more concrete than that.
But there's nothing to test.
Well, there will be, but we can't test it after it's built. We gotta kinda know that going in, don't we?
I mean, when we had our in January, when we had our zoning hearing, we were told that there's the closest edge to any residential property is at 1,020 feet. We were also told that for every 1,000 feet, the noise goes down 20 decibels. And we're gonna be at around 50. And so I mean, I'm swimming with stuff, and I've been on this thing since 2000 or 1998 or whatever. I'm not prepared to make a vote. And I think as a commission, I think we should table this. I think we should have another meeting, maybe with the city attorney, with the mayor. We need to draft up some ordinances, conditional uses, that has to do with us. I'm hearing stuff that it has nothing to do with the Board of Adjustment. It's a city commission issue. You know, we're dealing with noise, we're dealing with physical appearance, we're dealing with traffic, fire access, emergency access, the fencing. There are only so many things that this commission can deal with. Everything, we spent a lot of time talking about rates. That has nothing to do with us. So I think as a commissioner, I would feel more comfortable if we recess or adjourn, table this and go through all of our notes and then come back and put together a good set of conditions. And then who's responsible to check what or whatever, but we can't just, we'd be looking at all this stuff right now.
Yeah, well,
That's not
we
the
wouldn't
way
get
to
it
do
done today.
No, this is way beyond today. And then let's focus on what this commission's responsible for. And if some of these conditions are to the city commission, we got a commissioner, we got a mayor, they can deal with it, that's beyond us.
So like a continuance?
Yeah, how we recess and have, so that we could have another date to work on this, and then have it to a vote on the agenda item of Appeal 762, 763, and do it the right way rather than trying to cram it through right now. And that's my opinion.
Any other discussion on that?
I think he's correct on that. We've got too many little pieces, and actually need to figure out, what condition, on the sound. And we have to do it where, the city might actually agree with us on that. Basically, just, the sound level, and, to some extent, the light pollution. How, we have to go through the conditions, and that's, wow, we could be here until, midnight tonight.
Well, we're dealing with things that are beyond our control. We're not on the city commission. This is the baby commission. So the thing is, I think in all fairness to the audience, if we recessed and scheduled another meeting, then we'd have our conditions in place, focus on those conditions that we can vote on, and then it's agreed that anything outside of that is to the city commission, but not us.
Yeah, how much did we hear about rate increases, which has nothing to do with us?
Nothing.
On the contracts.
But
nothing to do
lighting
with us.
does, screening and fencing does, so the height of the fence there's things that is in our preview, but some of this today's, we're appointed, we're not elected, so you need to talk to the city commission on some of this stuff.
Okay, any other thoughts? Do we need to vote on that? Probably need a motion and a second. and
From
then
a staff standpoint, can I ask some clarifying questions? So you've identified a few of the issues you'd like to see clarified as conditions, but how can we as staff help you between now and your next meeting so that at that meeting you feel more prepared? Are you able to go through some of these conditions now to get consensus for what you'd like to see as a condition? Because, this public format is the right environment for deciding what conditions we put on that's not for us to decide outside of this room. So how can we help you as staff?
I just need to study my notes. I don't know.
Okay.
It's not like, Jameis and I got this issue. I don't know. I got a lot of things I need to look through,
Could we
That
get
makes
so much time, could we have so much time to go through all this and come back to you or the engineer's office and say, here's the conditions I would recommend to the planning zone, to the Board of Adjustment, and then see how
Yeah.
many others,
Yeah, let me think this through a little bit. So I think it makes sense. You guys heard a lot. You want to take some time to decide what you want to include, what you don't want to include. That makes perfect sense. So maybe part of it is you just need time and you can come to the next meeting with some of those things thought out. I guess I'd defer to Ryan. I don't know that you could have much, if any, conversations as a quasi-judicial board outside with us or anything. Would that be correct, Ryan?
That'd be correct.
That's why I'm asking now in a public format, so I don't want to come back in a week or 2 weeks or whatever you decide to have the meeting and then have the group say, well, we'd like to do something for lighting, but we don't know what that would look like. Or we want to do something for sound, but we don't know what that would look like. We want to make sure that we are prepared to present whatever options you'd like to see at that time.
And we want to make sure that we're prepared.
Yeah.
So
But if it's just time that you need, I get that, yeah.
I think that's what we're saying.
Okay.
If I may give some suggestions in that you could refer to the city nut to look at. There is a hump there from the dirt that was piled there from years ago and that when the gen plant was built. That does need to be moved. You could be considering, how much of a berm you'd want and on which sides and that you may want a berm. And then you could consider also in that, how tall of a fence and what type of a fence and that, these would be kind of questions in that I would think, that the staff could work on and get back to you as a commission. And that, so, berming to the west, berming to the north, those are the two areas that go toward the residences. The lighting, with the LED lighting and that we have available nowadays and that it is directional. And so you could, put height limitations or something like that and that the lights, shine, into the facility, not outside the facility, you know. So those would be things in that you could give directive to Jameson and that and the staff. Those are the kind of things, and I think that are in your purview, you know, of, and then drainage, you know, you could have them, have the engineering department, you know, address the drainage in that for the area. You could also have the engineering department and the staff in that address ingress and egress in that to the facility. So those are some things in that I think as a group, you could give Jameson as direction, and then they could provide that back to you and that for your information and that for your next meetings, things such as that. Thank you.
Thank you for the guidance.
Yeah, I think we can have some information share and things like that, but just a reminder, so board members discussing the case with any interested parties outside the public hearing would be ex parte communication.
just make
It
our
can't
own
happen,
notes.
so anyone from the audience should not be contacting you to discuss the
No, but I
details.
was thinking each one of us would not email each other, we would email you.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to have a reminder.
Yep.
The last note I'll make is I have tried to be quiet here because there have been a lot of items that have come up that we have answers for, but this isn't the right meeting to have those on as far as the conditional use permit and variances. So I haven't answered those questions. We do have answers to many of the concerns that you have heard that might fall outside of the planning commission's purview. The only example I'll give is the decommissioning. We're very aware that we want to make sure that we have funds on hand in case this business leaves and we would need to decommission that ourselves. So that's one topic that is very important and something that is on our radar. Just falls outside of what I would view as a part of the conditional use permit, but that's for your determination if you'd like to include anything there.
Since I'm up here as an official Board of Adjustment voting member now, I would just add a comment that I do think it is prudent to take some time to work through all of the comments and feedback that we've heard and figure out how to apply it to a potential conditional use permit in a smart way. One thing that has not come up yet that I just want to make sure is on people's radar, I don't want it to necessarily influence if there's a condition or something that we feel is important to still hold to that, but I do know that part of the timeline of this was that Mike Puster was wanting to coordinate bringing the facility online at the same time as scheduled substation work. And Jameson, can you remind me when that was going to take place?
July 15? That's right. It was end of July, potentially beginning of August, when we want to have that southeast substation expansion energized. Ideally, it would make sense to put a large customer like this on at the same time. It's not absolutely required, but that would be ideal. Would that be correct, Mike? Okay.
And if that doesn't happen to coincide, just for the benefit of other people in the audience here as well, the drawback of that is that there's additional downtime that wouldn't be otherwise happening.
Mike, do you want to jump up real quick and answer that?
Sorry.
I know enough to be dangerous.
I just want to make sure we're
Yeah.
having the full picture of information to take into account.
Yes, Mike, so you're correct, that there'd be more downtime on the substation switching around, and one of the things we look at is safety for the linemen. You know, as long as we look at exposure to de-energize the energizing lines, we reduce that exposure, we reduce injuries and excel safety. So that's one of the main reasons, downtime and safety for the linemen.
Okay, yeah.
For that time frame.
So yeah, ideally, we would be able to, if this goes through, ideally, we would be able to coordinate that. But, you know, I think it's also important to make sure we're taking our time to get it right.
Correct.
So we would allow Ryan's group to set a timeline for when to reconvene? Is that what we'd want to do?
I think with public notifications and everything, we're probably into the next regularly scheduled meeting in May.
Yeah, because, I mean, this isn't our job, so we're doing this in our spare time. It's going to take a little bit of time.
Yeah, we could look and see what the minimum amount would be based on public notification and everything, but I don't think it's probably going to buy very much time to set up a special meeting.
One thought
But
I
we can
have
look
is
into that.
it might not save any time, but if we feel there's gonna be substantial conversation, discussion left on this item, you might wanna have it as a standalone meeting so that, I mean, if we're getting into this spring, there's always busier construction things coming up. You might have 3 or 4 items on your agenda next month, so you might wanna have this as a separate meeting just for that reason.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, we'll defer to Ryan to set the date for us then. Is that okay? Because, I mean, they got to send out the notices and everything, so. Just quickly, and then you just send out the notice to us, and we got, 8 people, 9 people on this commission, we should be able to get enough for that.
Okay.
Okay. So, do we need to vote on this, or can we just table it and that's the end of the deal?
I would say a motion to table to
I
the
move we
next available
table.
meeting would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Need a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay. All in favor can indicate with an aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, that's what we're gonna do then. We're gonna table this and put together some good stuff.
Send this electronically so we can all have one.
Thank you, everyone. It's very much appreciated. Very civil conversation.
Mr. Chair, I'd recommend maybe a 30-second pause just to let people head out
Sure.
before your next
Yep,
item.
yep.
Yeah, thank you.
This is a city commission meeting. Never had that before. Never.
Yeah. Well, the first thing we need to do is move out of the Board of Adjustment. We're still in the
I
board.
think you'll need, actually, Chairman, I think you'll need a second motion and second for appeal number 763.
Oh, the variance?
Yeah.
The same thing?
Because you're intending on
The table
on
that-
tabling both,
All right.
correct? Yeah.
Sorry.
I so moved to table that as well.
All right.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, now let's come out of the Board of Adjustment. Need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, new business. We already did items 1 and 2, so we're moving on to item 3, which is a plat approval of lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in Block 3, Cyber Estates, city addition to the city of Madison, Lake County, South Dakota. And can we get an explanation on this one?
Yes, this plat is pretty straightforward. This is lots 1 through 5 up in Cyber Estates Edition. These lot sizes mimic the accepted subdivision master plan, and so this is a replat that we knew would come. This is in the R60 duplex residence zone, but these would be sized for either single-family or that duplex use. And we have reviewed it from the engineering side and have take no exceptions.
So this is just the next step in that process.
Yep, and then this would allow them to put single-family homes on these lots. They've shared that intent with us.
Any questions?
I move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Take a vote. All in favor can indicate with an aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, approve plat of lots 8, 9, 10, and 11 in Block 2 and lots 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 in Block 3, Cyber Estates addition to the city of Madison, Lake County, South Dakota. Again,
Yeah, same situation exists here. All of the lots meet our zoning requirements, and they also meet the subdivision regulations as well as the approved master plan. And so we've also approved these on the engineering side and would take any questions you have for me, but otherwise we would suggest approval.
questions? If not, we can have a motion.
I move that we approve.
Second.
Mr. Maxwell with the second, okay. All in favor can indicate with an aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, public hearing, tax increment district number 8. What does this involve, Mr. Hay?
So I'll maybe run down what I know about tax increment districts. I think there's some folks online that can help answer some questions too. So how a TIF district works is that a defined geographical area is determined as a tax increment district. Property values are then frozen, so the current total property value in that district is recorded as the base value. Then development happens, improvements are made, property values increase. And as that development occurs, the property values and therefore the property tax revenues go up. And that increment is then captured in the extra tax revenue generated above the original base value. That increment is used to pay back the cost of the improvements. This project will follow a city-approved project plan. The property currently has a taxable value of $0, and improvements are expected to generate approximately $2.3 million in new value. Because only positive tax increment is used, the project is considered feasible. The city's role is to act as a pass-through, distributing the general tax increment to the developer per a developer agreement. The project itself is the Summit at Van Epps Apartments. It's a proposed 28-unit multifamily housing development located along Southwest First Street and Van Epps Avenue. The project is a partnership between Lloyd Companies and Interlakes Community Action Partner with the goal of expanding affordable housing and improving access to essential services for residents in Lake County. A key feature of this development and its location is it's adjacent to ICAP's existing facility, and that provides services such as childhood education, rental and utility assistance, food distribution, and access to a community health worker. This proximity would allow residents to easily access critical resources and support long-term housing stability. The development includes a mix of studio, 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units that would serve a variety of needs. It also is designed with accessibility in mind, and overall the project combines affordable housing with on-site supportive services.
And did you say there was somebody online to explain this, or?
Yeah, I believe Toby Morris is online, I believe.
Hi, Toby. Tobin.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Chair, members of the board. You know, Toby Morris, first-time caller, long-time listener with you folks when it comes to tax increment district. The highlight of this, it's very interesting in the sense that you have a local nonprofit that has been essentially assessed at 0. And now what happens when you enter what's called a low-income housing tax credit, it's really serving the needs of what you would call affordable housing, because it will be income verified, income generated within that 60%. I believe Luke's in the audience there that can give a broader overview of the project. But essentially what we got caught is what I would joke around, call it a circular reference within codified law. We normally shouldn't have to do a tax increment district because it's a nonprofit, but because of the tax credits that are involved, by codified law, it becomes a taxable project. So what you're seeing here is really the increments going back for the benefit not only of the commercial kitchen that ICAP does a wonderful job of serving the community with, but it's maintaining those rents, affordability per tax credit statutes. So, and like I said, in a perfect world, we shouldn't have to do a TIF. Hopefully, maybe Senator Crabtree might want to carry some legislation if he's still in the office there, but to fix it in the future. But that's what we're looking at, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, and I believe Luke's there that can give an overview of the project.
Oh, yeah, there is somebody left out there. Yeah, come on up.
Yeah, Luke Whitgriff with Lloyd Companies. I'm here to answer any questions you guys have on the project. I think it was mentioned it's a 28-unit building. We have studio through 3-bedroom units. Anything else that wasn't mentioned, I'm here to answer, so.
Thank you for sticking around.
Yeah, you bet.
When do you anticipate, what's your schedule, start breaking ground?
Yep, so assuming this all goes well, the construction start would be mid to late July.
Oh.
And then looking at a 11 to 12-month build period.
Any other questions?
So with these rentals, they make application, do they pay the utilities and,
Sure.
or is that all included in their rent?
So the utilities are included in the rent, minus internet and
Okay.
phone. Yep, but we'll pay water, sewer,
Okay.
trash. Yep,
So it truly fits under the word affordable.
correct, yeah.
See, we've had one or two other housing apartment proposals, and they all throw out, this is, you know, you need more affordable housing in Madison. And in one hearing, I asked, well, what do the rents be?
Yeah.
And they never told me.
Sure.
It was always a 60, you know, I mean, this is affordable.
Yep, yeah, so we'll serve 30% to 60% AMI. What that actually looks like for this project, the lowest rent right now is $540 a month for a studio. That ranges to $1,245 for the most expensive 3-bed.
Mr. Chair, Toby here again. I think a lot of credit goes to Lloyd to be able to apply to South Dakota Housing, get these tax credits, and bring them to Madison. It's a highly competitive process statewide. I don't know, Luke, when's the last time we might have seen these kind of tax credits come into Madison? I did some research and I couldn't find anything. So there again, I think it's just a great project to the word affordable, where we can actually say with what it is because of the tax credits.
Correct, yeah, I don't know the last time Madison was awarded. I do know, I was just going back through 2020, and I don't believe Madison has had anything housing tax credit wise since then. So at least 6 years, probably much more than that.
And another component to point out, I think, Luke, is that commercial kitchen and all the things that ICAP does and how it serves the region for the meals that it'll provide.
Yeah, I'd like to, this is Mike Anderson with ICAP, up here with Luke. I'd just like to comment a little bit about that commercial kitchen, just so, you know, we're aware of what's going on with that. ICAP provides another opportunity that we have here is ICAP provides senior meals, senior nutrition throughout eastern South Dakota here. But we also we're working with Feeding South Dakota to feed seniors in some very rural, insecure food desert areas. And we actually have a number of our employees who actually go out right now in our 14 counties, and we actually go out and deliver meals to areas where, you know, there's no restaurants. There are no convenience stores and there's no grocery stores. We've got some of these small towns where, you know, there really isn't anything, but we still have people living there, and we still have seniors living there, and they don't have any access to healthy food. And so these frozen meals have really taken off. The demand is out there, and this gives us an opportunity to supply those meals to our aging population and to our seniors out there. And I think it also gives us an opportunity to feed seniors within this housing project. There's an area that they can come down and dine in, or even seniors in the community that want to come in and have a congregate lunch there as well. So it is a multi-use property, and there's also some additional benefits for that. Right now, ICAP provides our senior nutrition program. We are in the range over 200,000 senior meals a year. And this kitchen will give us the opportunity to add an additional approximately about 10,000 frozen meals that we work with Feeding South Dakota. They actually come in here and we have them, you know, this increases our staff time and wages and such in the community, but the Feeding South Dakota comes in once a month with their semis, a truck, and we load that truck up with those frozen meals, as well as going out within our own communities here in the counties here surrounding Lake County.
Good, thank you. Any other comments? So we're looking, just looking for recommendation to the city on this one, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor indicate with aye.
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 Are there any, I'm sorry, are there any opposed? You guys sleeping over there?
You fell off your chair.
Thank you for your time. Thank you,
very much.
Toby.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for investing in our
Thank you.
community.
Yes.
Bye.
Hopefully, no more public input, but I have to ask the question.
Jenny?
Yeah, we've had plenty. All right, in that case, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor indicate with aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. So you'll let us know, huh?
So, I did this to you and then.
Okay, well, some of this isn't zoning stuff. So this side's zoning.
If you have questions, yes, I think then we need to convene in a public format and go through those together as a group. And if you have any questions, direct them to Ryan just to see. Yeah. No, that would be like a quorum or something. Yeah.
You guys gotta remember, my birthday's May 24th.
I don't remember my kid's birthday.
Yes, I noticed.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts.
They've gotten over it.
What? No, I'm telling her to avoid that.
The Board of Adjustment.
Don't have a lot more of them coming.
We were gonna change this part.
And you sure hit my limits on time in that chair.
Oh, yeah.
God.
And I also think in our next round, we want a 2-minute.
Better call my dog.
Our Robert's Rules and Orders was really driving crazy, Charlie.
Gonna come and get me.
Because that's one of your things that, remember when we got trained by force planning?
Oh,
God, we spent so much time and stuff that has nothing to do with us.
What's that?
We spent